बहुत सारे हो यार आप लोग. Anyways, good evening. So we are myself Himanshu Khatri, and we are going to begin with modern Indian history, right? And welcome everyone. And is this your first class? अच्छा, okay. बढ़िया बढ़िया. देखो भाई, first rule in my class क्या कहते हैं? Those who are sitting in the first two rows, right? So there should be people who are relatively less sensitive kind of people, right? Yeah. तो मतलब मैं I'm telling in the beginning only, ठीक है? That those who are in the first two rows, they should be मतलब less sensitive because जिनका college ragging नहीं हुआ है, उनका मैं करूँगा actually ना. I'll be doing the ragging, right? तो वैसा है करके. Second component that comes into operation is कि भाई I'll try to ensure that sotela व्यवहार, that is a step son like or step daughter like treatment is not done with the online students. So I'll try to take your questions and queries as much as possible, right? Third principle which is of my classes that those ultimately by the end of the classes or ज़्यादा अच्छा रहेगा that from the beginning of the classes itself, right? If I ever ask you a question that that do you know something, or if there is any question, right? So therefore those students who do not know, right, they should be smiling and very with pride they should learn to raise their hands, right? Because that is one of the most important lessons of clearing UPSC, right? So therefore don't have any self-respect in my class, right? With respect to if you have any doubts, any questions, and if the teacher is giving you an option, then do exercise that option, right? So therefore I'll try to answer as many queries as possible. Next component that comes into operation is that I want some trust and faith from your side, in the sense that since you have joined the class, right? So therefore after ultimately we'll be having decent amount of content, right? We'll be having around 400 pages. I'll be making you write down approximately 400 pages, right? So therefore classes, I hope that they will be fun, and not just fun, but yeah, content would also be there in terms of 400 pages. So once you will have those 400 pages with you, so after that the such issues which are there in your mind, that should we read any other source, right? So therefore there is no requirement for any other source as such. There will be three components. One will be the class notes which I'll be dictating. Second component will be some handwritten handouts which you should not you should not take a printout because they will become bulky. So basically class notes, they are kind of like so class notes may, if you add some more facts, some more figures, then they become the handouts, right? So therefore there is no need of getting a printout of it. Simply on your computer screen, if you go through them, then you'll be aided in your prelims, right? I'm telling it for the first time, all the students, they keep on asking, right? So basically if you do the class notes and if you do the handouts, then 95% of your prelims and 99% of your mains, that will be covered. 95% of your prelims and 99% of your mains will be covered, right? In fact, for example, in the last last two UPSC papers, nothing out of this came, right? And those questions which are bouncers by the UPSC, they were bouncers for every other source also, right? That means those questions, they were not from those other sources also, like Spectrum or anything like that, right? So, and if you want to cover this 5%, that, so for that particular thing, you have the Vision IAS material which is there with you, right? So therefore the Vision IAS ecosystem, it is good enough for the history subject, for the modern history subject, right? If you have already read Spectrum, or if you have already read some book, so therefore fine. No teacher should ever say that don't read a book, right? The first principle of UPSC is that you should try to read one book multiple times, right? The second principle is that that book should ideally be a book of mains level, right? Because in my view there is no separate preparation for mains and prelims, right? That is all basically a marketing thing, because people, they want to sell books, people are anxious, people like you are anxious, you want to buy books, to satisfy your anxiety, you create a library, है ना? So that you feel that you are preparing for UPSC. Because otherwise, if you are in your home, you have joined Vision IS, right? But you are in your home and you don't have a library, right? So when you meet your friends, you feel that you are not doing enough hard work, right? So therefore, you love building a library, right? So, anyways, you will still build a library, right? Because that helps in easing anxiety, है ना? So that is it. So with respect to classes, the class notes, they will be good enough, right? And combined with the handouts, 95%. If you add the visionized material, 99%. Instead of the visionized material, if you want to read Spectrum, be my guest, read Spectrum, right? It is very bulky now. During our times when I used to prepare, it was not that bulky, right? So now they have made it very bulky over the years. So basically what happens is that no question comes from Spectrum. And in the next edition, they add the information with respect to that question in the Spectrum, right? And as a result, today the Spectrum is this big. And if any student is buying Spectrum, he or she feels that all the previous year questions, they have come from Spectrum, right? So, Spectrum is basically a summary of Bipin Chandra, right? Spectrum is basically a summary of Bipin Chandra, India's struggle for independence, the big one, right? And since that book, it begins from around the revolt of 1857. So therefore, they have added pre-1857 part also, and so that is how the book is. So basically, it is nothing but a summary of the old NCRT of Bipin Chandra plus the new thing. And if any questions have come in the UPSC, जो Spectrum में नहीं थे या फिर उसमें नहीं थे, so they have kept on adding it. So that's how it has become bulky. So visionized material, many of the students, they have said that the visionized material is much better than the Spectrum in terms of return on investment. That means the Spectrum, it is very, very bulky compared to the visionized material, and visionized material is targeted and good enough. So with the classes, it becomes good enough, right? How many of you are planning to have history as an optional, right? So therefore, you would be, from the experience till now, I'll be adding value to your preparation. For sure, there will be value addition to your preparation. Why? Because the notes that we are going to, give you in around 33 or 34 classes, right? So that those notes, they would be, they are like, because my way of teaching is slightly different, right? I keep on going into the why, I keep on going to the why. So therefore, those notes and why you don't get from books like Spectrum, for the whys, you have to do some detailed study. So anyways, Ledeke result is that the classes, they will be summary of Bipin Chandra, India's struggle for independence, plus Shekhar Bandyopadhyay, plus the old NCRT, plus some internet, right? So therefore, those questions which could not be answered by these three, I researched those questions. So therefore, you see, because Shekhar Bandyopadhyay and Bipin Chandra, usually they are touted as or promoted as the books for the optionals. But when we were preparing for GS, we still to Bipin Chandra, India's struggle for independence, because the way UPSC questions, those were not covered just by the Spectrum of that time, because Spectrum was not that big. It was not covered by the simply old NCRT of that time, right? तो उस प्रकार से है, तो इस तरीके से रहेगा, right? So, and if we talk about our syllabus, it is from 1757, that is from middle of 18th century until your independence, right? That is 1947, right? There's a different approach. For example, usually when we read the books, the index of the book, right? What is the purpose of the index? The purpose of the index is to tell the reader that these are the different elements which are going to be there in the book, or this is what we are going to read. But whenever you pick a book, अब पता नहीं आपके साथ अलग case scenario रहेगा होगा, but in my case, whenever I read the index of the book, I could understand 0%, right? मतलब सब सर के ऊपर से कि पता नहीं क्या है ये, right? उसका कोई logic ही नहीं, right? So therefore, index, they came handy only after multiple readings of the book, or only after you have read the book couple of times. Only then the index starts making sense, because only then you are capable enough कि अच्छा, right now I want to look at that particular portion of this particular book, and therefore you search the index that it will be where, right? So therefore, otherwise the indexes, they are totally baseless. So there is a different approach, right? So let us try to look at the index of the modern Indian history, right? So index of the modern Indian history is basically simple. All of us we know that ultimately it is going to be about overthrow of the Britishers or removal of the British rule from India, right? Ultimately it is going to be about removal of the British rule from India. So that means, okay, the Britishers at one point of time, they ruled India, right? But then we look at the syllabus. So the syllabus is from middle of 18th century, that is 1750 onwards. And there's this famous book, Shekhar Bandyopadhyay, right, for the optional purposes, jiska naam hi hai From Plassey to Partition. And the Battle of Plassey, it took place in 1757. And therefore, we can do a match that, okay, the reason why UPSC has given the syllabus as from middle of 18th century mane, we have to do a minus one thing, right? So 18th means 1700s, right? अंग्रेज थोड़े से बेवकूफ टाइप के लोग हैं, right? So Britishers, they are actually stupid. So therefore 18th, right? So therefore at times when you are doing fast reading, we tend to get confused कि अच्छा 18th मतलब 1800s या 1700s. So that's why I clarified. Because my purpose here is that even those students who are zero, that is even those students who have never been good students or who have always been below average students, I will try to raise you from that minus to the level of, in fact, even the optional, right? In some cases, at least the effort is going to be that we are going to, right? So therefore, no problems in that. So even such small things at times I might be telling you, right? If you know it, fine. So that's why the UPSC syllabus is there from middle of 18th century, that is 1750s onwards, right? So therefore then comes so in the 1757, it was the first victory for the Britishers over an Indian ruler. It was kind of like the first victory, major victory. And after that, the Britishers, they started dominating the politics of India. After that, the Britishers, they started dominating the politics of India. So some questions, they come to our mind, right? And the question that comes to our mind is, Kecha, who was ruling in 1750s? Who was the ruler of the whole of India in 1750s, right? And what do we get to know? We get to know that, okay, on paper, there was this thing, like Mughals, they were the rulers, right? Because और कुछ ना बताओ तो इतना तो चीज चलो थोड़ा सा famous है that 1857 revolt, that is 100 years after 1757, there was a revolt called Revolt of 1857, in which the Britishers, they ended the Mughal rule legally, right? In which the Britishers, they ended the Mughal rule legally, and then Queen Victoria, she became the Kesari Hind, or she became the Empress of India. तो चलो इतना हमें पता चला that okay, syllabus begins in 1757, जहाँ पे एक Battle of Plassey थी. फिर उसके बाद हमें पता चला कि अच्छा हम ये सब पढ़ क्यों रहे हैं? We are reading all of this because ultimately it is about the independence movement of India. Okay, so already we know that Britishers, they were the rulers of India, right? When did the Britishers, they became the rulers of the India? So let us come to the middle of the syllabus, that is Revolt of 1857, when they ended the Mughal rule, right? So these 3 points we know. 1947, 1857, 1757, right? So therefore, now begin our FAQ approach or some basic questions. That okay, in 1750s, what was the political system of India, or who was ruling India, right? So there we come to know that Mughals, they were rulers of India, but Mughals, they were on a decline, and the real power on the ground were the Marathas. The real power on the ground were the Marathas. So a very natural question that comes to our mind is ki bhai, why the Mughal Empire was declining, right? Why the Mughal Empire was gradually becoming weak. And therefore the first topic of our discussion will be decline of Mughals. Where we'll try to see why there was decline of Mughals, right? Second component that comes into operation is ki, for example, we studied in physics until class 10th. We studied that energy can neither be destroyed nor it can be created, something like this, right? That is conversion of potential energy to kinetic energy. Same kind of thing it is there with respect to power. So imagine that power, it can never be destroyed. In any society, there is always that 100 units of power. For example, if there is no government, if there is total lawlessness, no police wala, no military wala, no government, nothing at all, no tribal leader also, no punch also, there is no village headman also. That means power is there with each individual on his own, right? So in that case also what will happen? That power is 100 units, just that it is divided among the population, right? Let's say the population is 100 crore, so therefore power divided by 100 crore, right? So therefore you will get power per person, right? That will be very, very low, but still 100 units of power is there. Second principle that comes into operation is that it is in the nature of the power to centralize itself. It is in the nature of the power to centralize itself. What do you mean by this? For example, your batch has started just now. Okay. Probably in some days, some neta will emerge from among you, who will post on the online portal, join this WhatsApp group. It is in the nature to नेचर ऑफ द पावर टू सेंट्रलाइज इटसेल्फ. कोई ना कोई एक नेता उभर के आ ही जाता है, तो ये वैक्यूम ऑफ पावर will not be there for long, right? Then is this kind of scenario is this. So power keeps on shifting from the center mane at the top mane some all India ruler who is very very powerful, and the other extreme is no government, all the power with the common man, right? Power iske beech mein move karti rehti hai, but it is in the nature of the power to centralize itself. So power cannot be decentralized, or usually is not decentralized. Decentralized mane uska niche rehna for longer period of time. So anyways, so to begin with, when we say decline of Mughals, that means that at one point of time the Mughals would be extra powerful. That means the all India ruler, that is the Mughal, will be having, let's say, 90 units of power. But he is very powerful. But then what do you mean by decline of Mughals? It simply means decline of Mughal emperor. That is, the Mughal emperor, it is becoming gradually weak, right? And therefore the power, it is basically moving downwards. So earlier the Mughal emperor was 90 units powerful. Now gradually over a period of time his power will become 30 units, even literally 10 units or just 5 units. So where will the power go? Power cannot be destroyed. It will move to the lower levels. Center, states, ground level. So what is the lower level after the center? The lower level after the center, it is the states, right? So therefore power got decentralized. Once there was decline of Mughals, we'll try to understand why there was decline of Mughals, and then we'll try to find out that this power went where, and we'll come to know that there was basically rise of regional powers. थोड़ा AC हल्का सा, ये बहुत ज्यादा है. चक्कर आ रहे हैं? नहीं, चक्कर वक्कर नहीं आ रहे हैं? आ जाते हैं? नहीं, मुझे नहीं आ रहे. मुझे आएंगे तो मैं सामने वाला पे गिरूंगा. झेल लेना भाई. ठीक. Rise of regional powers. Now these regional powers, they were of three kinds. Right? These regional powers, they were of three kinds. One, they were called successor states. Second, they were called rebel states. And third were those which were already autonomous. Already autonomous. What do you mean by already autonomous states? These are regional powers. Regional powers like Bihar, Maharashtra, UP, right? So therefore, state level. Already autonomous means that even when the Mughal emperor was super powerful, even when he had 90 units of power, why he did not have that 100 units of power? वो बचे हुए 10 units, where were those 10 units of power? Those 10 units of power were basically with these already autonomous, right? What do you mean by the word already? Means already, मतलब पहले से. And what do you mean by the word autonomous? The meaning of the word autonomous is that you have freedom. Now that freedom can be or independence. Now that freedom or independence, it can be of different kinds. There can be something called full independence. For example, Pakistan, it became fully independent from India, right? So therefore that means 100% autonomy. But then there can be lower level autonomies. For example, before the removal of the Article 370, there was this Article 370 with respect to Jammu and Kashmir. That means Jammu and Kashmir was part of India, but because of the Article 370, some special autonomy it enjoyed. Some special autonomy it enjoyed. That means autonomy, it is like a continuum. Autonomy, it is in percentage. Autonomy, it is in fractions. Autonomy is not 0 or 1. Autonomy is 0.1, 0.2, 0.35, 0.4, 0.45, right? So that is thing. For example, another example of autonomy is 6 schedule areas. So your polity has not begun, but whenever your polity will begin, you will come across something called 6th schedule areas, right? And these are the northeast tribal areas where in certain districts, more autonomy is given to those districts. Right? Similarly, you have 5th schedule areas. So in the central area, central India, tribal areas are there. So 5th schedule areas is regarding the tribal regions of the central India. वहाँ पे you try to give more autonomy or more freedom to the tribals. Right? So autonomy of it can be of different kinds and different things. Right? So already autonomous. They were part of the ठीक है, they can be part of the Mughal Empire, they can be independent of the Mughal Empire. So these already autonomous were, for example, Rajputs. Then you had Travancore, which is Kerala. इसको साथ साथ थोड़ा सा बना भी लो, ठीक. Travancore, which is today's Kerala, and you had Mysore, which is today's Karnataka, right? So these were the three states which were already autonomous. That means that they were autonomous since previous times, right? Second is rebel states. चलो इतना बना लो भी. Arpan is asking, sir, how to get handwritten notes? I'll be dictating, you will be writing. कोई सेंस है इस बात की? इतनी कलाकारी मत करो, जल्दी लाइन बनाओ ऐसे. यहाँ पे पेंटिंग का पुरस्कार नहीं मिलने वाला, ठीक है. ऐसे next what we have is rebel states, right? So rebel states, ऋतिक रोशन अब आए हैं, इसका नाम ही ऋतिक रोशन है. मैं तो रोशन पढ़ा नहीं था, मैं तो खुद से बोला, नाम ही निकला ऋतिक रोशन. कह रहा गुड इवनिंग भाई. और राकेश जी कैसे हैं? और सुजैन उजैन से बात हो रही नहीं हो रही आजकल, ठीक है. प्रियांशु सर क्लास नोट्स एंड स्पेक्ट्रम आ रहे ना? हाँ ठीक है, देयर इनफ, राइट. हैंडआउट्स पढ़ लेना, ठीक है, हैंडआउट्स रेफर कर लेना, गुड इनफ. Rebel states were those states who basically came into power or who got power by fighting. Look at the name, rebel states, right? So states, it represents basically a kingdom, right? And rebel means they got power by fighting against the existing power. And who was the existing power? The Mughals. So therefore those states which rebelled and extracted power, won wars and extracted power, captured territory, right? So therefore they are called rebel states. And they were, at the top there was Marathas, there were Jats, there was what you call as Afghans, Marathas, Sikh, Jats, Afghans. So this is the decreasing order of importance also, that is given the size of the rebel state that they formed, the power they exerted. So Marathas, Sikh, Jats, Afghans, they are the four rebel states which are there, right? Then there was something called successor states, right? Something called successor states. What about the successor states? So successor states were basically, look at the name, successor states. States, we understand what it is. Then another word is successor. Successor in Hindi means Uttaradhikari, or something in English related to inheritance, right? So successor is a person who inherits the family property or who inherits the family wealth. So imagine that you are living in a joint family. Imagine that you are living in a joint family, and there was a time when the grandfather, right? Imagine that you are living in a joint family which has multiple floors. There was a time when the grandfather, the head of the family, was really powerful. He was in his 50s or in his early 60s. But now gradually, because of old age, he is becoming weak, and therefore he is losing power, right? For example, today if you are getting married, right, it is only for the namesake that it is written that Mr. XYZ invites you to wedding of his grandson, right? In reality, the rishta has been finalized by your parents or you yourself, right? आजकल time change हो रहा है, ठीक, right? The wedding has been finalized by you. Arrangements have been made by your father. Everything is being taken care of by your father. That means on paper the name is of the grandfather, but in practice your father's name will also be there, but it will come as a deputy or as a junior of your grandfather. But the real power, it is there with your father. Similarly, you might have some uncles, chacha, tau, etc., etc. Right? So therefore, they are the real power holders. Now they are the ones who go to the family factory. Now they are the ones who go to the family lands and manage everything. They are the ones who have economic power. They are the ones who are making decisions that whether to do this thing or do that thing. That is, they have political power, right? And they are the ones who which have other kind of power. So political power, economic power, social power, to kya hai, but they are the ones who have this power. But name is of the grandfather. So that was the status of the Mughals around 1757. Right? And who are these three sons? These three sons were Bengal, Hyderabad and Awadh. That means if it comes to something which is official, right? So for example, when I try to visit your house, which is a big koti, right, where at the top floor there is this Mughal emperor, on the first floor there is Bengal, on the second floor there is Hyderabad, on the third floor there is Awadh. Right? Right? So or us prakar se. But on the outside, the nameplate says Mughals. जैसे होता है शर्मास, खत्रीज, ऐसे लिखा हुआ है मुगल्स, वो खास करके इटैलिक फॉन्ट्स में कर देते हैं आजकल, है ना. So therefore, but when you enter the house, you find that the Mughal emperor, the head of the family, he is weak. He does not have any real power, right? He might not, at times, even this happens, that if he tries to say something, that order might not be followed, right? And now he is afraid. He is afraid that if I give some order to my sons, what if they disobey me? Then whatever respect that I have, even that will be gone. Right? So that's why nowadays he observes and he keeps quiet. That okay, whatever you want to give, jitni izzat mil rahi utni to mil jaye. Right? Therefore, this kind of scenario it is there. Right? At times, initially there was time that when he became old, so therefore some promises were made. Or in general, the three sons, they used to handle the three factories or the three family lands, and the share of the Mughal emperor was given to the Mughal emperor, that is the grandfather. But now as he is becoming weak and they are becoming more strong, so therefore now at times what happens that they give the money but they do not submit the account books. Hisab nahi de rahe. That in this month in the factory how much sales took place, or in this month from the family shop how much sales took place, or in this month from the family land how much rent came. They're like, Mr. Old Man, whatever we are giving to you, take it and health pe dhyan do, health pe focus on health, right? This kind of scenario. Then there comes a time that the two elder sons, they start sending money, infrequently. For example, this month they sent, but next month they are not sending, next to next month they are not sending, then next month they are sending, matlab apni marzi se they are not sending the money regularly to the grandfather. And then there comes a time they stop sending. Then there comes a time when they stop sending, right? The youngest son, right, he was relatively more loyal, so therefore he tried to give money as soon as possible, as frequently as possible. But when gradually he also became old, and his son, that is you, that is the grandson, you came to power, so therefore now you also stopped sending money, right? And now grandfather is there just on paper, right? But otherwise he is in poverty. Otherwise he does not have any physical power. He does not have any physical strength. He does not have any economic strength, right? And he is not having any say anywhere. He is just a figure, right? So therefore that kind of status was there by the time period of 1757, right? And these three states were Bengal, Hyderabad and Awadh. Bengal, Hyderabad and Awadh. You want to know something? Yeah.
Like this successor state is not similar to autonomy, but not 100%, but a 50% autonomy.
Yes, kind of. No, that is not the difference. So student is asking, sir, can we say that, so basically what is the comparison between a successor state and a state which is already autonomous? Can we say that the already autonomous state, it has 95% or 100% autonomy, whereas the successor state, it has not 100% autonomy, but maybe let's say 70% autonomy. Well, it can be one way to look at it. It can be one way to look at it. Why? Because in all practical purposes, the successor states, they exercise all the autonomy, right? So, like in a standard statement, we can say that powers with them, they are more or less equal. Yes, but I still agree that some influence will be there of the grandfather, because public के सामने there is a image. जब कन्यादान करना होगा तेरा नहीं मतलब. When your wedding will be taking place, so therefore when the photo shoot will take place, so therefore the first photograph will be that call Mr. Grandfather, and therefore he is the person who is giving Ashirwad to the bride and the groom. Right, so some influence will be there. Some fighting might be taking place between your father, your chacha and your tau. That your father, your chacha and tau, that the grandfather will be living in whose home. Right, maybe each three of them, they are fighting that the grandfather should live with us. Why? ताकि समाज में एक message जाए, in the society this message is there that छोटे वाला रख रहा है. In the society this message will be there that the youngest son, he is the one who is taking care of the grandfather, the other two ones are not. Right? And what is the real reason? Real reason might be that the grandfather is about to, and then some extra influence you can have, right? Or otherwise in the day-to-day socializing or in the society, because the grandfather is with you, right? So therefore he is dependent on you, or you are his right-hand man, or you are the wazir. So therefore you might have, some legitimacy for your decisions. For example, if your father, ठीक है भाई बुरा तो नहीं मान रहा तू, ठीक है मतलब योर मतलब यू नहीं है, मतलब ऐसे आई एम जस्ट थिंकिंग एग्जांपल वाइज, मैं तो तुझे जानता भी नहीं हूं यार, तेरा नाम भी नहीं जानता मैं, ठीक है. So basically, for example, if your father, he wants to take over some property of his brother, that means your uncle, right? Some family dispute can be there with respect to land, right? And let's say he is able to do some partial capture of the lands of the brother, right? Now there will be a family dispute, right? Ghar wale, rishtedar, all will be invited. And then because the grandfather was living with you, that is with your father, so therefore grandfather will say, no, this land I gave to him only. Right? Or, जिसने जो किया वो ठीक किया है. What he has done is okay. ठीक है. My approval is there. This is called legitimacy. Grandfather is otherwise economically weak, politically weak, anything. The son whose land was taken, he can fight. He can start a war also. कि मैं नहीं सुनता. बुड्ढा सठिया गया है. Right? Maybe, because that has become that kind of family without any respect, right? Without any respect for the Mughal emperor, right? So therefore, fighting can still take place. But see, when the society asks, when the dispute comes in front of the society, when the dispute comes even in front of a judge in the court case, the first question that will be asked is, what is the opinion of the grandfather? He was the person who transferred the property. What is his view? And then they will check that are there any legal papers. You see, this is called power of legitimacy. Samaj mein legitimacy, that on your wedding card it will be written that Mr. Grandfather invites you to wedding. Why Mr. Grandfather? Because legitimacy. There are some things where the power of law is not there, where the power of money is not there, where the military power is not there, but there is something called social power. That samaj किस चीज को मानता है, or how does the society looks at something, and this is power of legitimacy, and this is very, very important. But and I cannot simplify it more, but going forward, it is a very common doubt which we as students have, right? And because I also consider myself as a student forever, right? So which we also have as a student, that so if Mughal Empire was weak, because we have written so many pages that this is how Mughal Emperor was weak, this is how Mughal Emperor was weak, this is how Mughal Emperor was a puppet, then sir, why these successor states are not declaring independence, sir? They can have their own kingdom, they can be legally independent. Why the three sons are still staying in that building? Why the three sons are still putting the name of the grandfather whenever a wedding takes place? Why they don't move to a separate kothi, that is a separate house? Why don't they declare that we are totally independent, we don't have anything to do with this old man? right? Why they still keep the name of the grandfather in front of the house? Why? Sir, power to hai nahi. There is no power with the grandfather. The reason is the power of legitimacy. The reason is the power of legitimacy. Because since the past 60 years, 70 years, he has been earlier the higher and now the head of the family. Since past 40 years, he would have been the head of the family. Your whole society knows your family with his name. Right? That is power of legitimacy. There will be a time. Sir, why? Why Marathas, despite being so powerful, they don't declare themselves as the new emperor of India? Why they still recognize the Mughal emperor as their emperor also? After 1720, Chhatrapati Shivaji did not recognize Mughal emperor as emperor. But after 1719, Shahuji Maharaj did recognize. But see, only on paper. In practice, he was the more powerful man than the Mughal emperor. But on paper, he recognized that Mughal emperor, I accept him as emperor. Why? Same answer. Second question. Sir, if the Britishers are very, very powerful, and sir, if the Britishers, they have defeated the Mughal emperor and Awadh and Mir Qasim in Battle of Buxar, 1764. Right? So, sir, why after that the Mughals in the Treaty of Allahabad, मैं जानबूझ के jargons फेंक रहा हूँ, ठीक है? Why? Because I want to gradually train your mind. You don't have to write anything. You don't have to remember anything. Whenever the time will come, we will discuss the Treaty of Allahabad. We will discuss the Battle of Buxar, threadbare, with dictation. So you are not missing out on anything. I will not be saying anything which I will not make you write down. Right? My effort will be as much as in that direction, but I'm still trying to make you conversant with some of the topics, right? ताकि उनका नाम तो आपने सुना हो कभी, so that at least you are able to hear. Sir, why after defeating the Mughal emperor in the Battle of Buxar 1764, the Britishers एक तो गुस्ताखी करी, that is, एक तो Mughal emperor is on the side of he is trying to fight the Britishers by supporting Awadh and Mir Qasim. Who was Mir Qasim देखेंगे. But sir, after this, the Britishers, they promise the Mughal emperor that they will pay him कितना दिया था 16 lakh rupees या 25 lakh rupees, something like that, that we will be paying you 20 lakh rupees or 16 lakh rupees per year as a tribute. ठीक है, 16 लाख रुपए 3 लाख रुपए जो भी था, मतलब विल बी पेइंग यू 16 लाख रुपीस पर ईयर. मैं फिगर अभी गलत हो सकता है, आई गेट बैक टू यू ऑन दैट. बट व्हाई विल बी पेइंग 16 लाख रुपीस एज अ ट्रिब्यूट टू यू एवरी ईयर? सर व्हाई? वो क्यों कह रहे हैं ऐसा? Why are they recognizing him as their emperor? They could have easily replaced him. Answer is again legitimacy. Answer is again legitimacy. See, there is something called brand. Today there is Jio. If tomorrow Jio becomes independent of Reliance, it may not have that kind of brand value. Today, for example, Aditya Birla Group is there. There are multiple brands which are there within the Aditya Birla Group. If any of the brand, it moves out of the Aditya Birla Group, then it might not have that kind of a thing. What if Jio tomorrow becomes PO? You might not, buy it. It has the same thing. But see, there is something called power of the brand, right? The watches, right? They work the same, right? But because on a watch, Apple is written, so therefore it sells for much more expensive, whereas some other companies might be making better quality watches, but still they don't sell like hotcakes in the market. Why? Power of the brand, right? So therefore everyone wanted the person who has the brand to be in their pockets, right? That is why, right? Legitimacy is not there. If Britishers, they become the rulers of India, Indians le ye kaun hai bhai? Since the past these many years, 200 years, Mughals has been the emperor. For example, in 1857 revolt, in the 1857 revolt, Veer Savarkar says that it was a war fought for Swadharma and Swaraj. Right? The 1857 revolt. Swadharma. Swadharma mane Indians, they were fearful with respect to their religion. That Britishers, they want to Christianize India. Britishers, they want to Christianize India. Hindus and Muslims, both of them, they rose, and one of the important reasons of rising against the Britishers was the fear that they are going to convert us, that they are going to dilute our religion, right? So therefore, even when that high-pitched religion was there, and Hindus, they are in the majority, even at that point of time, so basically what was the goal? The goal was that we want to replace the Britishers and reinstall Bahadur Shah Zafar as the Emperor of Hindustan. Bahadur Shah Zafar, Mughal. Right? Yes, he will be powerless. Will not be giving real power to him. Real power will be with Jhansi ki Rani, Nana Sahib, Tatya Tope, etc. But legitimacy. Why? Since the time period of 1556, Mughals, they represent us. Why? Emperor kisi पूछे, what? Who is the Emperor of India? He'll say, भाई Mughal है. You know, brand, एक बन गया है brand over years, right? So therefore, that is why, right? So anyways, this is why these people, they continue to be part of the Mughal Empire. But in practice, if they have to fight any war, if they have to sign any treaty, if they have to make peace with their neighbors, right? If they have to take any decision, they'll be acting as they want to act. But yes, in the name of the king, that is in the name of the Mughal emperor, right? So therefore, this is the thing. Next question that comes into our mind is that, okay, sir. So, sir, okay, but sir, you said that the second principle, that it is in the nature of power to centralize itself. Sir, यहाँ तो power decentralize हो गया. Power has decentralized. So, sir, was there any Indian regional power which could have become an all India power, centralized power, right? So therefore, yes, there was, and that is Marathas. So therefore, the next question that comes into operation is that why Marathas could not become an all India power? They were the top power. They were the top Indian power. In fact, it is totally false to say that the Britishers, they ended the Mughal rule. The Britishers, they ended the Maratha rule. They did not end the Mughal rule. Mughal rule, it ended in 1739, 1740 itself. Right? And by the time period of 1752, Mughals, they were dependent. Mughals, they were dependent on Marathas for their security. Right? They came under Maratha protection in 1752. Right? So it was the Marathas who were in power, and they were on the cusp. That means they were on the verge, that they were about to set up an all India empire. And when this event took place, called Third Battle of Panipat, 1761. Right? So we'll discuss all of these things. That one topic of discussion will be, मैं आपको बस index बता रहा हूं अभी. One topic of discussion is that why Marathas could not become an all India power, could not replace Mughals. Right? So they will be discussing Third Battle of Panipat and others. But sir, again, sir, it is in the nature of the power to centralize itself. So sir, the Iron Throne of the Game of Thrones, it is empty. So nowadays I have also started watching House of Dragons. There is sir Iron Throne. And sir, the point is that it is in the nature of the power to centralize itself. Everyone is conniving that who will be there on the Iron Throne. So sir, who ultimately came to be on the Iron Throne? And the answer is British. Right? So therefore, the next question, that next topic of discussion that comes into operation is, after this we discuss the rise of the Britishers. And who are the Britishers here? I mean, at times it is very kind of like feels weird that it was a company, right? That is your East India Company, right? So political rise of the East India Company. Right? Political rise of the East India Company, military rise of the East India Company. Second component that comes into operation is that, okay, sir, okay, political rise of the East India Company. After that, next question, that in response to this political rise of the, sir, in response to this political rise of the East India Company, how did we actually then remove the Britishers? That is the natural next question. कि हमने उन्हें हराया कैसे, हटाया कैसे? So therefore, the next topic of discussion that comes into operation is Indian national movement. Indian national movement, right? And before this Indian national movement, there is another component, that is 1857 revolt. That is, one attempt was made to remove the Britishers through the 1857 revolt. Ultimately, we failed. But later on, through the Indian national movement, by 1947, we were able to remove the Britishers from India. But this Indian national movement, this 1857 revolt, sir, why are they taking place? Obviously, to remove the Britishers. But you see, another component is that the way the Britishers, they ruled. That is rule of the British. This rule of the British, it created some grievances, anger among the Indians. And that became an important reason. The negatives created by the rule of the Britishers, the way they are behaving, the way they are, for example, one example I have mentioned, promoting Christianity. After 1813, they promoted Christianity. So therefore, plus some other aspects, multiple aspects, they generated huge amount of anger among the Indians, which is why this 1857 revolt took place, which is why this Indian national movement took place. For what is the topic of our discussions? This is the index of your syllabus in one page. First we'll be discussing the decline of Mughals. Then we'll be discussing the rise of the regional powers, that is rebel states, successor states, already autonomous. Then we'll be discussing why Marathas, they could not become an all India power. Then we'll be discussing how the Britishers, they became an all India power. Then we'll be discussing that this was a company, right? So therefore, what was the rule of the company like? Then we'll be discussing, sir, how did we transition from rule of the company to the rule of the British state, right? And therefore we'll be discussing the 1857 revolt. That is, company rule was ended after 1857 and the British government started ruling India directly. Then we'll be discussing, okay, what was the rule of the British state then? When you say here British, it includes the East India Company, it includes the British state. And then we'll discuss the rise of the Indian national movement. Right? So broadly, these are the topics. Right? There can be many subtopics, but broadly, these are the topics. So please jot this down, and then we'll move ahead. Yes, Rajput kingdoms, they were autonomous. Because autonomy is gradation. So some Rajput kingdom might be more autonomous, some might be relatively less autonomous, but ultimately all were autonomous. Done? Right, so now you write down the heading. First Battle of Panipat, 1526. First Battle of Panipat, 1526. First Battle of Panipat, 1526. So the syllabus of modern Indian history, it begins with 1750s, but because in 1750s, 1760s such events take place which have a link with the previous events. So therefore this topic, it is of medieval India, but we are going to have a look at it not in detail, right? Because I'm not an expert of ancient India or medieval India, respective experts are there in Vijayanagars, but we'll be looking at these events till that perspective so that we are able to benefit in modern India and we are able to understand the modern Indian history, right? So our hero of the story is MIH, and if we have to look at medieval, we'll look at it only to that extent so that we are able to understand each and every line of MIH, right? the questions, the prelims questions, etc., with respect to the medieval, they will be answered, or you will be able to answer them whenever your medieval gets over. Right? So therefore, that is the perspective. Right? So because there is this third battle of Panipat 1761, so a natural curious question comes to a mind that by what was the first battle of Panipat and what was the second battle of Panipat? It's very natural. So UPSC is very, very commonsensical. Right? Those people who feel that they have to do something special for clearing the UPSC, they are actually those people who ultimately give 6 attempts and ultimately they become RTI activists. Right? That something special needs to be done. Nothing special needs to be done. UPSC is a very simple exam. Okay, much simpler than IIT. It is just that it is big. UPSC exam, it is big. Big but simple. And because it is big, right? So therefore you have to slog. Some issues are there, how to make notes. Some issues are there, how to remember things. Some issues are there, ki time is this much, but the content which is to be covered is this much. Right? Otherwise UPSC preparation is simple. That's why the name is general studies. General. They do mother 12th level, if you ask. Right? But the problem is that no student focuses on the basic whys. Right? So that is a problem. कोई सिंपल से सवाल नहीं पूछता है. लोगों को लगता है कुछ एक्स्ट्रा इसरो साइंटिस्ट लाइक काम हमें करना पड़ेगा, तब जाके we will be able to clear UPSC. Right? The issue is basically, anyways, we'll come to that. Right? So शुरुआत के 5 PPT 5 handouts upload कर देंगे ना. तो अभी तो you focus on this. So this is a PPT or handout which is having maps. Right? So right, तो इसको डिस्कस करेंगे मैप को. बट इन द फर्स्ट बैटल ऑफ पानीपत बाबर, इन द फर्स्ट बैटल ऑफ पानीपत बाबर ही एस्टैब्लिश्ड द मुगल एम्पायर इन इंडिया. सो बाबर वाज अ पर्सन ऑफ मंगोलाइन, उज्बेक, टर्किश, मंगोलाइन, मतलब ही वाज अ डिसेंडेंट ऑफ Genghis Khan, and therefore he was searching for a kingdom. And the first battle of Panipat, at that point of time, it was the Delhi Sultanate which was the ruler. So this map, it is wrong. Okay, because the purpose was not this, purpose was to just to find some map where Khyber Pass is mentioned. तो उस तरीके से. तो anyways, यहाँ पे ये कश्मीर उस तरीके से दिखा रखा है. तो anyways, the primary focus is this. So before the Mughals they established their power in India, it was the Delhi Sultanate. It was the Delhi Sultanate which was the ruler of Delhi. Right? So this is a map of 1525, 1526. Right? So the Babur, he fought war. He fought war against the Delhi Sultanate, and once he defeated it, so therefore you have the next map. In this map, you see the blue part is the extent of Babur in 1530. That means this is the area which is there under Babur, and you see this is very, very similar to the area which we saw with respect to Delhi Sultanate. Right? So therefore, what is the importance in MIH of the first battle of Panipat? That it led to establishment of the Mughal Empire. Why is that important? Because one of our topic of discussion is going to be decline of Mughals. So commonsensically, at least we should know that when did the Mughals came to India. Right? In brief, we should know. So that is why we are discussing this. Right? So write down first battle of Panipat 1526 in brackets. कुछ गलत है इसमें. क्या गलत है? वो कहाँ गया? नोट कहाँ गया? वो नोट एक था ना. ऐसे तो चला जाऊंगा, बट यहाँ पे शॉर्टकट होता था एक नोट का. सो ठीक है. सो इन दैट्स यू राइट डाउन फर्स्ट BOP 1526. First BOP 1526. Right? Short forms. Right? So write down first sub point fought between Zairuddin Babur 2630. Zairuddin Babur 2630. 2630 and Ibrahim Lodi fought between Zairuddin, Zair Khan नहीं है, Zairuddin Babur 2630 and Ibrahim Lodi. in brackets, the dynasty was, Lodi dynasty was, dynasty mane khandan, a family. Lodi dynasty was the last empire. Lodi dynasty was the last empire of Delhi Sultanate. Of Delhi Sultanate. Sultan ने खाना खाया, Sultanate, Sultan ate. Delhi Sultanate. Delhi Sultanate was the last empire of Delhi Sultanate. Priyanshu is asking which class NCERT we should read for basics. Nothing. फिर इतने कोचिंग के पैसे देने का फायदा क्या हुआ अगर अभी भी बेवकूफों की तरह एनसीईआरटी पढ़नी है इनको. This is a personal opinion. This is a personal opinion. ठीक है. Others they can have their opinion. Yes, Vision IS is obviously much more intelligent than me, right? So they have recommended Spectrum also. So I have that respect for Spectrum and NCERT also. अब रुक जा भाई ऐसे दिखा के. ठीक. अब मैं बोल रहा हूँ तू ऐसे कंप्लीट करो. ऐसे माइंड में टेंशन हो जाती है ना. So for example, see, this is like I have my personal biases, right? So I can be wrong also, and ultimately you should follow. You should give priority to other, more less priority to me, right? But my personal opinion is that if we are studying a mains level book, right? If we are studying a book which is of the college level, then what is the logic of studying a 6th class book? Imagine you completed Bipin Chandra, you completed Shekhar Bandyopadhyay, and after that there is a 7th class student who is in front of you, right? And do you think he will defeat you? He will know something which you don't know. ऐसा possible है? ऐसा तो नहीं है ना possible. इतना serious मत रहा कर, जिंदगी में खुश रहा कर. Hey, there is no point of So one expects that if we are reading a college level book, then 6th class, 7th class. I mean, has history changed? If someone is, basically it means when you are studying history at college level, you are studying that subject in depth. है ना? So common sense says कि यार, if I am studying, if I am covering the college level syllabus, BA level syllabus, if I am covering, if I have covered, there is a book which people say that it is UPSC level books. So why it should be there that a 6th class student will be able to ask me something and then laugh on my face that you are not preparing for UPSC? That means we have not prepared that book properly, right? So therefore, I mean, ultimately what happens is that in UPSC we should read one book multiple number of times. वरना 6th class से लेकर 12th class, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 कितने हो गए? 7 हो गए. 7 हो गए ना. हाँ, इंक्लूड करेंगे 6th लोग, इंक्लूड करते ना, लोग करवाते हैं इंक्लूड ना. तो वही 7 and then how many subjects are there roughly? वैसे तो roughly 14 or 15 subjects are there, but even if you include the main subjects, it also comes around 6 or 7, right? History, economics, polity, geography, art and culture, etc. So ले रखे 7. So 49 books. 49 books. You will have a library. 50 किताबें तो वही होगी, and then some others also. ठीक है? That's why you people start setting our libraries, है ना? And then you also join library, because in your room there is no space to study anymore, because that is a library. So that's why you join library, right? That is why. So there is, see, follow whenever you listen to any topper talk or you listen to anything. Okay? I mean, people like Swami Vivekananda, people like Ramakrishna Paramhans, right? People like Swami Dayananda Saraswati, all over, whichever great name you see, they found their own path. Yes, they needed some guidance, but that does not mean that it is not mechanical. You find at least, and to finding your own path, some common sense should be applied, right? क्या होगा ऐसा 6th class की, 7th class की, 8th class की NCERT में, which will not be there in a college level book? चलो मान लिया, some info, how much percentage of that information will be there? What will be the content of that information? Right? Nothing. Right? So therefore, there is an NCERT. Trust me, those people who say you should read NCERT for basics, they actually don't know NCERT. They don't know NCERT. Why NCRTs, in my opinion, are unreadable? I had psychology as one of the optional. Second option was public administration, right? When I began preparing for psychology, so I read 11th or 12th class psychology book. I'm like, okay, fine, it's okay, पढ़ लिया मैंने, right? And then I read Morgan King, then I read Cicerelli, then I read, plus I had coaching also. So therefore, once I completed the coaching part, then I read again. मैंने कहा एग्जाम आ रहा है, let me read the 12th class NCRT again or 11th class NCRT again. And then when I read that NCRT, I was having a different level of experience. I realized that there is not even a single word in this NCRT which should not be underlined. So basically, the way in which they prepare NCRT is they cover everything, but they do not elaborate upon it. They cover everything and they do not elaborate upon it. As a result, what happens is that each sentence, NCRT is basically a summary. And therefore, as a result, there is no one sentence which can be, left ununderlined. Right? So usually हमारी habit क्या होती है? Or what is our focus? Our focus is that okay, we underline this much, and okay, this is a description. So for the purpose of faster revision, we'll read only the underlined portion. That is our expectation when we underline. Right? But for example, after reading the 11th or 12th class NCRT, I was like, each and every line, it is so amazing. It has so much. Each line can be elaborated into 2 paragraphs. But you know what is the problem? The problem is till the point of time a student will not cover Morgan King or Cicerelli, that is, he will not have that elaboration. He will never be able to even understand the importance of each line, or he will not be able to understand each line also. वो नहीं समझ में आएगी एक लाइन. क्यों? समझाने के लिए कुछ elaboration, there should be some elaboration, na? So as a result, you see, if you are beginning with, even if you have to read NCRT, read those NCRTs once your coaching is completed. And then you will be able to truly appreciate the NCRT. And then you will be able to read the NCRT faster also. Simple follow logic. Let's say today if you read NCRT, right, and you devote, let's say, 15 days to cover one NCRT or whatever, right, and or 30 days to cover NCRTs of class 6 to class 12th. वैसे तो 2 महीने लगेंगे, 60 days. Plus you are attending coaching, right? So therefore 33 days or 34 days of these classes also. The total comes out to be 90 days. Imagining like that. But if the teacher is fine, if the teacher is above average, if we are able to, because we have given money for the coaching, that is the expectation is that the teacher will be able to, there can be different teachers, right? So some teacher might have an expectation from you, ki bhaiya come to my class after reading NCRT. I have no such expectation from you, right? So it is upon each teacher how they design their course, and nature of the subject is also different, right? But with respect to history, it will be much better if you first cover the coaching part, and then when you pick up the NCRT, you'll be like, अरे ये तो पता है, इससे ज़्यादा तो मुझे ही पता है, right? अच्छा ये पता है. So your reading will be faster, plus you will be, because reading will be faster, plus you will know that what information I already have and what is such information जो मुझे इसमें से निकालना चाहिए. चलो, by chance if there are some 2-3 things, because the people who are there in the market, they claim na this question came from class 7th STRT chapter number 3. That is why you people are buying NCRTs, है ना? वो ऐसा करते. तो fine, if there is any bit of information which you feel it is additional, so fine, extract it. And when you will extract it, that piece of information will not be more than overall 10 pages. 6 to 12th NCRT, overall more than 10 pages of normal font, right? Right? It will not be more than 10 pages of information. Right? So that is how it is. You should read NCRT, but afterwards, and not initially. At least for my class, that is the rule which is there. Right? So, write down. Fought between Zainuddin Babur and Ibrahim Lodi. Lodi dynasty was last empire of Delhi Sultanate. Lodi dynasty was last empire of Delhi Sultanate, brackets closed. Next, Babur, next point, next sub point. Babur 2630. Babur 2630. Babur 2630. वही तो सस्पेंस है. बाबर 2630, बताऊंगा सस्पेंस है क्या है, व्हाट इज 2630, सस्पेंस है ऐसे ही. बाबर 2630 was in search. बाबर 2630 was in search. बाबर 2630 was in search, ढूंढ रहा था, was in search of a kingdom for himself, was in search of a kingdom for himself, was in search of a kingdom for himself. And this battle was culmination. Culmination means something like a conclusion. Multiple small things are taking place, and then a big fight takes place. This battle was a culmination of conflicts. This battle was a culmination of conflicts between Babur 2630, and Lodi. Between Babur 2630 and Lodi. Babur 2630 and Lodi. By see, Babur 2630, he had smaller army compared to Lodi, right? But still he was victorious. Why he was victorious? Because of his field artillery. Because of field arti meets artillery. Artillery means top, right? Top, guns, right? That is cannons, guns, artillery. And when they are in the field, that means on the ground or you're using it, so therefore field artillery, right? So therefore he had these small bronze cannons which can be moved. The guns, they can be cannons, they can be very huge also, which cannot be moved from one place to another. But these small bronze cannon guns were there, which can be moved in the battlefield in a swift manner, right? And this was the first major battle where gunpowder was used. So Babur had gunpowder, right? And how many of you have watched Game of Thrones? House of Dragons, how many of you are watching? Those who have not watched Game of Thrones, please watch it. What are you doing in your life? Right? I mean, time nahi. You'll be able to learn so much about succession disputes, right? You'll be able to learn about feudalism so much if you watch Game of Thrones. So therefore, at your home, you can say that ये teacher ने बोला देखने के लिए, right? So, right? So क्या बात कर रहा था इससे पहले मैं? अरे गेम ऑफ थ्रोन तो मुझे भी याद है. हाँ. So for example, in the Game of Thrones, what was the special thing that Khaleesi had? Dragons, right? So therefore, even if she had multiple dragons, let's say she could have destroyed simply, right? So therefore, it is like having a nuclear weapon. Or basically, your army is smaller, but you have these guns with you, or these cannons with you, which can do a big damage, and therefore you have the edge, right? So that became the major reason for the victory of Babur, right? So therefore, write down. Was first battle where gunpowder was first battle or first major battle where gunpowder and field artillery gunpowder and field artillery in brackets small bronze cannons. Small bronze cannons were used. Small bronze cannons, brackets closed, were used. Which is why Babur 2630 which is why Babur 2630 WON 1, which is why Babur 2630 despite smaller army, Babur 2630 despite smaller army, therefore Babur 2630 Babur 2630 founded Mughal Empire. Therefore, Babur 2630 founded Mughal Empire. Founded Mughal Empire in 1526. Founded Mughal Empire in 1526. Right. So now, what is this thing about the 2630? Right. So basically, for example, if I ask you what is your name, Sahil Kadyan. Right. So therefore, and let's say you meet me every time and you introduce to me that sir, myself Sahil Kadyan, Sahil Kadyan, Sahil Kadyan, Sahil Kadyan, Sahil Kadyan. So therefore, I'll remember him as Sahil Kadyan. But today he tells me Sahil Kadyan, and the next time he always introduces me as Sahil, 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 Sahil. So therefore, I'll forget that what was his surname. I'll forget what was his surname. Right. Similarly, for example, in our society, the word James Bond, it is not common. Right. अब तुम्हारा नाम James Bond थोड़ी होगा, होने को हो सकता है, but it is not common. So therefore, there would be a first time in our childhood where we would have come across the name James Bond, right? Either through some advertisement, and along with that James Bond, it is James Bond 007. In fact, whenever he introduced himself in dialogue, right, he said, "My name is Bond, James Bond," and then something will flash 007. Even in the advertisements of the movies, Bond 007, 007, 007. You never get confused that it is 006 or 815 or 641, right? That James Bond 641. It is always 007. It has become natural now, right? So basically, if we make it a rule that we will treat the years as surnames of the events or as surnames of the people, right? Then one of the biggest problem of history, that is remembering years, will be done away with. Right? It is one of the biggest tasks why students hate history. One of the important reason is the years. And therefore, because we are beginning afresh, right? So therefore, if we ensure, if we have to take someone's name, then we have to take the name with respect, right? So he'll always be not just Sahil, bhai pura naam lo aur pura naam batao, Sahil Kadyan, right? Imagine, which is your year of birth? 2000. So therefore, let's say whenever he says, "Sir, I am Sahil Kadyan, 2000." So I will never forget. His friends will, and what is, don't tell me the month, but let me tell me the birth date of the first. So let's say Sahil Kadyan the first, Sahil Kadyan the first, Sahil Kadyan. No one will forget that his birthday comes on the first. Right? So if any one of you has a problem of forgetting birthdays, right, then start storing the names of the person that you want, whose birthday you want to remember, right? So therefore, add it to his name or her name, right? You'll never forget that particular thing, right? Psychology was one of the optional, memory was one of the thing, right? One of the chapters which was there, and I personally have not a very great memory. I have a very poor memory, right? But this problem of UPSC I was able to conquer with the help of this trick. So Babur 2630 is, his rule was there from 1526 to 1530, right? 1526 to 1530, right? In fact, for example, some small facts which are part of medieval, but for example, Chhatrapati Shivaji 7480, 1674 to 1680, right? Wellesley 9805, 1798 to 1805, Shah Alam 6006, 1760 to 1806. Cornwallis 8693, 1786 to 1793. So therefore, this trick has assisted me and multiple batches also in overcoming this tension of remembering the years. So for us, the civil disobedience movement will always be CDM 3034. That is 1930 to 1934. NCM 1922. इज्जत के साथ नाम लेना है, and even if we are reading any particular textbook, let's say Vision IAS or whatever, right, and there Babur is written, you should be like, kitni galt baat. Take out your pen, give respect, add 2630. The problem is, if you will be partial in this approach, then you will get confused. There has to be consistency. There has to be consistency. There cannot be mixture, that today we are writing this, tomorrow. For example, Muslim League, things like Muslim League was formed in which year, right? If we simply keep the name ML1906, ML1906, right? So that's it. It is the name. In our notes, we don't write Muslim League. In our notes, we write down ML1906. Yes, in the exam, we'll write down Muslim League. Fine. But in our notes, everywhere, similarly, American Revolution, AR6583, 1765 to 1783. French Revolution, FR1789. Right? So therefore, this is a very, easy way or a trick which I developed, right? So isko patent bhi kara lena chahiye mujhe. ठीक? Anyways, but this has helped a person with a poor memory. It has helped to overcome that particular, right? So therefore, that is what is there, and this is how it becomes easy. For example, कोई याद ही करने की जरूरत नहीं है. औरंगजेब 5807, 1658 to 1707, right? Similarly, for example, Shahu Ji Maharaj, Shahu 1949, 1719 to 1749. Muhammad Shah 1948, 1719 to 1748. Mir Qasim 6063, 1760 to 1763. Right? So, no tension. Ali Vardi Khan 1740 to 1756. तो मैंने उसको बना लिया, मैं AK-47 होता है, AK-4056. AK-4056, 1740 to 1756. निजाम का एक पिन कोड निकाल दिया मैंने. निजाम ऑफ हैदराबाद, निजाम 244048. उसके केस में एक पिन कोड निकाल दिया. क्यों? बिकॉज 1740 when he shifted permanently from Delhi to Hyderabad, there were many reasons behind it. It was 1740 was a very important year. So 1724 he became Nawab of Hyderabad or Nizam of Hyderabad. 1748 he died. 1740 he shifted permanently from Delhi to Hyderabad. So therefore Nizam 244048. Right. Similarly, for example, the Bengal ke case mein, it was your Murshid Quli Khan. So MQK 1727. 1717 to 1727. As simple. So therefore you see, trust me, I don't have a very great memory, right? It is only through analysis that I've been able to master things. Otherwise, art and culture, for example, neither I could ever understand. That's why not even a single answer I could write with respect to art and culture. Right? जो चीज समझ में नहीं आती उसके बारे में ना मैं बात करता हूं, ना क्लेम करता हूं कि मुझे पता है. Neither I claim, neither I talk about it, neither I wrote about it in UPSC. Right? Nothing. Rote learning possible in EF on me. I just cannot rote learn. Okay, there is a problem. Right? Anyways. So, next write down. Second Battle of Panipat. Second BOP. Second Battle of Panipat. शुरुआत है तो पूरा लिख लो यार. Second Battle of Panipat 1556. Second Battle of Panipat 1656. 1556. Second Battle of Panipat 1556. See, what is the importance of this battle? The importance of this battle is that it led to re-establishment of Mughal Empire. Sir, re-establishment? Yes, re-establishment. Re-establishment takes place when the person who was there earlier, he has been removed. Right? So, Babur 2630, Humayun 3040. Babur 2630, Humayun 3040. That is from 1530 to 1540. Humayun was there, but then came from Afghanistan Sher Shah Suri. Came Sher Shah Suri. Right? And in 1540, he defeated Humayun and established the rule of Suri dynasty. Right? Now Humayun wants to reclaim the empire. He gets in touch with Persians, that is Iranians. Right? And with their help and whatever army that he had, right, he recaptured Delhi in 1555. But then in 1556 he died. So again, the Iron Throne is vacant. And now Hemu or Hemchandra Vikramaditya, who was the actual powerful person or the de facto ruler. De facto mane something which is there in reality. Right? So therefore he was the real person who had power. Right? He was from Rewari from Haryana. Right? So therefore, he was Hemu from Rewari. So he captured power. Right? And now, second battle of Panipat took place, 1556, where Akbar was just 13 years of age. So therefore, the battle is fought in his name, but otherwise, it is his guardian called Behram Khan who is leading the army. So therefore, Akbar with Behram Khan, they fight the second battle of Panipat 1556 against Hemchandra Vikramaditya of Rewari or Hemu, right? And they are able to be victorious. And therefore, what is the importance of the second battle of Panipat? Re-establishment of Mughal Empire. Akbar 5605. That is 1556 to 1605, a period of 50 years roughly, he was the ruler. So there have been two Mughal rulers who have ruled for 50 years. Akbar 5605 and AZ Aurangzeb 5807. Right? So therefore, that is the importance. So please write down, then we'll go on a break. First sub point, fought between Akbar 5605, fought between Akbar 5605, fought between Akbar 5605, in brackets 13 years old, in brackets 13-year-old, brackets closed, ब्रैकेट क्लोज को काट दो, सेमीकॉलन लगाओ, सेमीकॉलन, अरे क्लोज को काटना था तुमने, ओपन भी काट दिया. लाइफ इज ग्रे नॉट ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट. आर या पार की लड़ाई लड़ना बंद करो. लाइफ इज नॉट 0 और 1, ओनली क्लोज वाला काटना है. सेमीकॉलन डाल दो, सेमीकॉलन, सेमीकॉलन. राइट. आर्मी वॉज लेड बाय, आर्मी वॉज लेड बाय, army was led by Behram Khan. Army was led by Behram Khan, comma, guardian of Akbar 5605, guardian of Akbar 5605, guardian of Akbar 5605. अब पक्के वाला ब्रैकेट्स क्लोज्ड. Guardian of Akbar 5605 versus Hemchandra Vikramaditya versus Hemchandra Vikramaditya of Rewari or Hemu, of Rewari or Hemu, in brackets, or Hemu, in brackets, the most important minister and military general, Hemchandra Vikramaditya of Rewari or Hemu, in brackets, the most important minister or military general, the most important minister and military general of Suri dynasty, of Suri dynasty, of Suri dynasty, of Suri dynasty, brackets closed. Next point, Babur 2630, Babur 2630, Babur 2630 was succeeded by, Babur 2630 was succeeded by, Babur 2630 was succeeded by Humayun 3040, was succeeded by Humayun 3040, was succeeded by Humayun 3040, who was defeated by Afghan invader, who was defeated by Afghan invader Sher Shah Suri, who was defeated by Afghan invader Sher Shah Suri 4045, who was defeated by Afghan invader Sher Shah Suri 4045. Mane from 1540 to 1545 he was a ruler who set up rule of Suri dynasty, who set up rule of Suri dynasty, who set up rule of Suri dynasty, in brackets 1540-55, who set up rule of Suri dynasty, in brackets 1540-55. That means for a period of 15 years the Suri dynasty ruled India. The first ruler of that was Sher Shah Suri, who ruled from 1540 to 1545. Right? So therefore simple point is Babur 2630 was succeeded by Humayun 3040, who was defeated by Sher Shah Suri in the year 1540, leading to establishment of the rule of the Suri dynasty. Suri dynasty it functioned until 1555. Sher Shah Suri had died in 1545, right? So therefore that is there. Okay, full stop. In 1555 Humayun 3040, in 1555 Humayun 3040, in 1555 Humayun 3040, अच्छा नहीं ये तो लिख लिया ना हमने, हाँ इन 15 हुमायूं नहीं इन 1556 लिखो, नहीं नहीं ठीक 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 लिख, in 1555 Humayun 3040, Humayun 3040 defeated Suris, but then died in 1556, but then died in 1556, and now Hemu recaptured power, therefore second BOP 1556, therefore second BOP 1556 was fought by Akbar 5605, to re-establish Mughal Empire. Second by BOP 1556 was fought by Akbar 5605 to re-establish Mughal Empire in India. Right? So, ठीक है, तो we'll be meeting in 10-11 minutes, right? Right? So you can. So finally, what to read along with class notes, visionized material is the answer, right? So now what we are going to do is we are going to create a homework exercise for us, and that homework will be done not right away, but it will be done once our at least the Mughal part it is done, right? उसको on कर दीजिए, उसको on करवा दीजिए, ठीक है? तो when the Mughal part it is done, right? So therefore, what we are going to do is we are going to write the. It is a usual confusion also that when we are reading history, so at times we want to interlink. That is, we are reading about an event and we want to think that at this point of time, who will be the ruler or who was the ruler, right? And if we are not able to remember, it creates dissonance in our mind. But because we are short of time, so we neglect that part and we move ahead. This is what usually happens, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to leave 2 to 3 lines, right, after every name. In case of Aurangzeb, we should leave more lines. In case of Farrukhsiyar, we should leave less than Aurangzeb, but more than the others. This kind of scenario. So our A4 page will look something like this. That we'll write down Babur 2630, right? 1 line. So why he is important for MIS? He fought the first battle of Panipat and he established the Mughal Empire. That's it, right? Second, Humayun 3040. After that, Akbar 5605, and because there is change of century, so we can write down 1556 to 1605. And therefore, now when we read, right, so fine, since he is the first one, so we can write down 1526-30. So therefore, we know what is 3040, right? And so on and so forth, we'll write down the names of the emperors, right? तो ये है. बाकी इन बेवकूफों के मतलब कि हमारे लिए तो बर्डन नहीं है ना भाई, हमारे लिए तो बर्डन नहीं है. बर्डन इन द सेंस कि यूपीएससी सिलेबस, राइट, और वो भी आउट ऑफ मॉडर्न इंडियन हिस्ट्री. सो बेवकूफ फ्रॉम दैट पर्सपेक्टिव, नॉट अ कमेंट ऑन देयर पर्सनालिटीज. ठीक है, हमारे लिए तो बोझ है. और बेवकूफी देखो, बेवकूफी है भाई, एक नाम लिख लो ना, साहिल कादयान है नहीं, साहिल कादयान, देन साहिल कादयान का दूसरा नाम आलमगीर है, फिर साहिल कादयान का तीसरा नाम आसफ जा. अरे भाई एक नाम लिख लो यार. why are you increasing our syllabus? As simple as that. ठीक है, वो जो इनके other names हैं, right? So they you can while reading the Vision IAS material etc. आपको कहीं पे मिलता है तो आप टेप देना, but otherwise so UPSC does not focuses on that part of the information. UPSC focuses more on the why part of the information, right? Why? Because when you become a bureaucrat, today the problem is not of facts. Today the problem is the problem is of analysis of those facts. Facts easily are available on the internet. What is required is the challenge that who can summarize these facts in a meaningful manner. Because when your meetings take place with, let's say, revenue secretary or with, let's say, NSA or with anyone, the point that they want to know is they are very short of time, right? So you get 5 minutes or 10 minutes depending on your rank, etc. And then they want to know that what is the problem, what is the core problem, right? And therefore, in layman terms, in normal terms, in simple terms, they want to know that what is the problem, and they want to know what are the possible options with respect to solution and what are the pros and cons of those solutions. As simple as that. So therefore you should study for UPSC with that perspective, right? There is a reason why I created that story of grandfather. Why? So that you are able to demystify, that is bring UPSC from that level to your level, and you are able to simplify things even to that extent. यार ये कुछ नहीं है तो कहानी घर घर की है. This is nothing, but that is the thing which is taking place, right? Nothing else, right? So therefore bring it down, simplify, because if you develop the knack of simplifying the complex thing, because the only two things which are tough in UPSC is A, it is big, and second, English. And second is English. Each subject of UPSC has its own jargons, right? For example, when I began my preparation, I did not even know that what is a financial year, or what is an assessment year, or what is exactly a budget, right? So even such small short forms were not. For example, BD, right? So BD 13, right? So that is basically budget of the financial year 13, right? तो ये भी नहीं पता होता. The first notes that which I made was कि ऐसा यार ये पता करना है ये BD क्या है, ये BD है या BD है, right? What is this BD, right? So therefore this kind of thing. So you can begin from that level, right? And you can conquer the struggle also. Right, so that is what is there. So right now, Babar 2630. So you can take it and don't be confused, right? Another thing is that कीड़े मकोड़े मत मारा करो अपने notes में, right? Another psychological thing that takes place is whenever either we are making our short notes or whenever we are making these kind of notes, we try to psychologically fool ourselves that see our notes are short. Why? Because see, my notes of modern history are of 200 pages only. Your notes 400 pages. Bhai, number of words are same. You both have attended same classes. Number of words are same, right? So it does not matter that whether it is 400 pages or 200 pages. The content is same. Why? Only psychological satisfaction, right? So therefore, when we make short notes also, right, we try to have as much amount of information as possible in one page, right? So we reduce the font size. Right, जो first time मैंने सारी गलती हमने भी करी हुई, right? So when I made the notes, I also made notes like this, right? Later on, I had to take out a microscope, right? Right. So therefore कि ये लिखा क्या exactly? ठीक है, ऐसे ऐसे पेपर के अंदर घुस के, right? So therefore उसका कोई फायदा नहीं है, right? उसका कोई फायदा नहीं है because UPSC preparation is so big. Ultimately, you are going to have these many notes of multiple subjects. Right, so ये सब फालतू की बेवकूफ़ी है that to reduce the font size and etc. In fact, later on there is a problem. What is the problem? Let's say there is some event in current affairs, right? Some personality is being discussed in current affairs, right? For example, socio-religious reform movements is a topic, right? In the mainstream books, Savitrabai Phule, wife of Jyotiba Phule, right? She is mainstream books. She is not mentioned much, right? Or in fact, she is not mentioned. But the government of India was celebrating the anniversary of Savitrabai Phule. And therefore, they asked a question in the UPSC regarding the contribution of Savitrabai Phule, right? So therefore, the teacher will not be covering because teacher has limited number of classes and we are studying for general studies also, right? So therefore, those which are mentioned in the top mainstream books, भाई बिपिन चंद्र देख लिया, शेखर बंदोपाध्याय देख लिया, और आपका old NCERT देख लिया. ठीक है, नाम नहीं है तो ठीक है, ऐसे तो बहुत सारे, there were so many people, everyone cannot be mentioned, cannot be dictated about. So therefore, it is your responsibility as a student that because a personality was in news in the current affairs, let me add her name also and 3-4 points about her, where in my socio-religious reform pages of the class notes itself, or maybe something on the sides somewhere. But when I open my register, I find that I have not left any scope for adding even a small letter. Right? So कितना आसान होता कि अगर बीच में थोड़ा बहुत खुला वुल्ला है तो we could have added some, and therefore भाई ये हमारा register है of modern history, इसी को ही बार बार we have to remember, we have to revise, and that's it, we are done. Everything it is here. Right? So it will not hurt that, for example, before every topic and after every topic, if we leave one page here and there, that just in case if something comes from the other sources, let's say जैसे टीचर ने कह रही है भाई विजनाइज मटेरियल, अभी मैं विजनाइज मटेरियल के सेपरेट नोट्स बनाऊं, बेटर नहीं रहेगा कि जस्ट इन केस इफ देयर इज समथिंग एडिशनल इन विजुअलाइज मटेरियल व्हिच आई फील दैट आई शुड ऐड टू माय क्लास नोट्स, तो वहीं पे ऐड कर देता है यार. ठीक है. सो देयरफॉर डोंट बी वो कहते हैं इन इंग्लिश देयर इज अ कहावत, वो कहते हैं पेनी वाइज पाउंड फुलिश. पेनी वाइज पाउंड फुलिश, दैट इज यू आर ट्राइंग टू सेव ईच एंड एवरी पैसा, but when it comes to saving 1 rupee, you are losing that rupee. Right? So that means that you are long term, you are not thinking. Right? So therefore that should be there. Another component, since it is the first class, so I could have not said anything, but it is always better to make notes not in this format. दिखाओ अपना register. ठीक? So it is, you should not make notes in these formats in any subjects. In any subject, you should make notes in this format. That is, choose such registers. The reason for that is, at least there is an option that if a lot of information comes regarding, let's say, economics, or let's say environment, or history also, if some information comes in the current affairs, right? So therefore you can remove this and you can insert pages into it, right? Another option is you make notes only on A4 papers and find those clippers, even more mote clippers aate which can hold big things also, right? So therefore number the A4s, and then you have the flexibility that if you are getting any additional information, let's say from you watched a good documentary and you feel that it is my optional subject, and in this documentary some event, some personality, some phenomenon, some theory, it is given, some more points are given, and I should simply add it to the already 20 points I have, just 3 points I need to add. So therefore if you have the flexibility कि भाई मेरे notes A4 paper में है, so therefore then only you will have that flexibility, या फिर इनको है इनको खोल के फिर इनको दोबारा add कर लिया if you want to add, right? So flexibility is very very important. What no one teaches in UPSC is the student management thing. What no topper teaches you is that how to actually study for UPSC. The toppers are mostly there to, yes, they are there to help you, guide you, but they are more about trying to tell you that what they did and what they did at a very broad perspective. वो मैंने वहां से कर लिया था, वो मैंने वहां से कर लिया था, वो मैंने, तो मेरा हो गया. The person who appeared in the interview as not sitting in the topper talk, he was like, हाँ मैं बेवकूफ था, and I was stupid. I also did all those very same things, right? So therefore you see, so if there are 1,000 toppers, then 1,000 strategies they have worked. Each student has his own strategy ultimately. There is no one path. Why? Because each of our mind is different. Each of our ways of remembering things and analyzing things, it is different. Right? That is why, some person might say that spectrum is good. Some person might say that Shekhar Bandyopadhyay is essential. Some person might say, अरे नहीं यार, old NCERT is fine. दो कारण होते हैं. There are 2 reasons for it. First reason is you should ask that person that, for example, in polity people say that Lakshmikant is good. Lakshmikant, अब वो ये है कि there are guidelines that those books which are recommended by the, see, these are my personal biases. I'm a small person, right, with my own biases, my own stereotypes. You can ignore me, ठीक है? Please ignore me, right? But Lakshmikant, Spectrum, they are kunjis. Kunji माने shortcut to success, like books. Lakshmikant is nothing. Why does Lakshmikant sells like hot potatoes? Why? Because the people who do not know anything, they feel they know something, right? After reading Lakshmikant, that is why it sells. Simple hai. Simple in the sense that it simply tells how president is elected, how president, but simply it has simplified the articles and presented to you, right? So therefore, you should read books which are of some analysis, some depth. Read D.D. Basu, right? If not DD Basu, at least read Subhash Kashyap. Read that one book, right? In detail. अब देखो मैं भूल गया मैं इससे पहले क्या कह रहा था. इससे पहले क्या कह रहा था मैं? अरे बाप, तुम बाबर पे अटके हुए हो. नहीं, लक्ष्मीकांत से पहले मैं और कुछ बात कर रहा हूँ जो लिंकिंग पॉइंट है. नोट्स, हाँ. तो एनीवेज द हाँ, what the toppers they do not, हाँ, 1,000 strategies they have heard. What the toppers they don't tell is that exactly those small things, you know, which these are the small things which ultimately create a big issue. For example, I don't know if any topper has told you, but if you underline the newspapers, it is as good as not reading the newspapers at all. If you feel that you have covered newspapers and your way of covering the newspapers is underlining the articles, right? So that is equal to not reading the newspapers at all, right? You might, no sir, I also cut those articles. Huh, fine. No sir, I also have a collage where I paste those articles by taking Fevicol. Fine. But ultimately that's of no use. With respect to, for example, current affairs. With respect to current affairs, imagine that partition of India has taken place, right? And you are in Pakistan, right? And you have to come to India as soon as possible, otherwise matter of life and death it is there, right? So therefore you might have huge amount of property in the Pakistan, but what you can carry is just these 4 suitcases, right? This is actually what your status is when you go to exam, right? So current affairs, it is an ocean. You can create a library of all the cuttings organized into ye economics ke articles hain, etc., right? But just before the exam, you will not be able to revise them because the content there is equal to 20 novels. एक साल में 20 novels का content इकट्ठा हो जाएगा. So therefore, till the point of time, either you restrict yourself to the Vision IS magazines or whatever coaching institute that you are following, where the content is kind of like summarized in form of monthly magazines, or you make your own short notes, right, from the newspapers. Only they will remain with you. Rest सब मोहमाया है. In the exam it will not come with you, because in the exam if you do not revise content, that content will be wasted, will be 200%, 300% wasted, right? These are the self-management things which are there, right, with respect to clearing this exam, right? So therefore this is a very important thing जो मैंने भी आपको बताया ना, right? You might neglect, some will neglect, fine, but making notes in this format where there is no flexibility, you will recall this lecture not today, maybe not after 1 month, but after 7 months or 8 months. You will, when you start doing your own hard work ना, अभी तो क्या है कि spoon feeding हो रहा है, right? Some people are saying something, you are jotting down, as simple as that. When you will start your own work, for example reading a book on your own, and then you want to add कि यार just 3 value addition, there you will feel this, right? And otherwise what will happen? These are my coaching notes, these are my self-study notes of polity or self-study notes of environment, right? How to, so now what will happen? You are reading a chapter first in your Vision IS notes. After that you read 20 more chapters from the Vision IS notes, and then after 7 days you pick up your self-study notes of that chapter. There is no interlinkage. There is not interlinkage. The idea is you should be able to read all the things together at one go. Only then the mind will form linkage, right? So that's why this is very important and time taken, because it is a first class, and hence, right? So now coming back to the topic, Babur 2630, after that Humayun 3040, after that Akbar 5605. Akbar 5605. Then Jahangir 0527. Akbar 5605. Then Jahangir 0527. That is 1605 to 1627. Jahangir 0527. Then Shah Jahan. So it was 1527, but fine, for the sake of remembering, because it rhymes, so therefore 2858. Shah Jahan 2858. Easy to remember, 30 years, 2858. Then Aurangzeb 5807. Since this is change of century, so therefore 1658 to 1707. 1707. Then Bahadur Shah. Leave more lines after Aurangzeb. Bahadur Shah 5807. So what is the homework? Homework will be that once our syllabus with respect to Mughals is completed, your job is ki, acha, let me see that during the time period of Babur, what are the important things which took place, and just mention their topics. Or during the time period of Aurangzeb, which important events took place. For example, with respect to Jahangir, a royal farman was issued. 2 royal farmans were issued to the East India Company. What are royal farmans, we'll understand later. But for example, they can be added here. And that leads to what? Inter-topic linkage. We'll not be studying about the Britishers when we are studying the Mughals, but we'll be mentioning Mughals when we study about the Britishers. And therefore now you have interconnected the 2 topics. Right? One very important thing, very important thing, jo, if you are able to understand how to clear UPSC, right? Very simple, no faltu again, right? Common sensical, right? Common sensical is, rather, some students said, but sir, toppers they mentioned that these questions they came from NCERT, right? So therefore, as I told you, if there are 1000 toppers, 1000 strategies they worked. The question is whether that information was there in the mainstream books or not, or it was only there in the NCERT. At times it happens, yes. That's why do read NCERT, but later on. Do read NCERT and later on, right? And anyways, even I was a topper. I got a rank of 300s, right, in the 2014 attempt, and I joined Revenue Services, your indirect taxes, right? And then I resigned in 2020 to pursue, you know, ये life में ऐसा मतलब मेरे को पसंद है, ऐसा मतलब कादियान साहब से हम मिल नहीं पाते देखो, है अब मिल रहे हैं देखो, है ना? तो ऐसा मतलब मजा आता है लाइफ में. तो I resigned in 2020. Now I'm teaching, right? So therefore, I'm also a topper, yaar. Fine, it's okay. Not top 10 वाला topper, but चलो 300s वाला topper, ठीक है, it's okay. तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं, मैं भी जो बात बोल रहा हूँ वो it is coming from something. So anyways, Bahadur Shah is not 5807, गलत किया. Bahadur Shah is 0712. Bahadur Shah is 0712, right? हाँ, वो जो मैं इंपॉर्टेंट बात बता रहा था वो भूल गया मैं. सो यूजुअली सी व्हाट हैपेंस, और इसमें ट्राई टू फाइंड कॉमन सेंस, राइट? नेवर ट्रस्ट एनी टॉपर जस्ट ऑन द फेस वैल्यू. व्हाई? यू आर मोर इंपॉर्टेंट देन दैट टॉपर. टिल द पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम यू विल हैव दिस इंफीरियरिटी कॉम्प्लेक्स, राइट? इंफीरियरिटी मतलब yes, we should always be on that plane that we don't know anything. Yes, we should always be on the learning curve. We should always listen, but we should never, neglect ourselves, because that strategy is good for us, which is for us, है ना? हम क्या हैं? If we are such people who are having photographic memory, who are able to simply read, and they are able to remember, then for you making notes is not relevant, or may not be relevant in all the subjects. But if you are such a student who feels that till the point of time I do not make my own notes in my own handwriting, I'm not able to remember somehow. That means another topper strategy will work for you, not that topper strategy who told you that his mind was such that there is no need for note making with respect to that subject, right? So you are important, right? And therefore adapt or adopt only that thing jahan pe aapko common sense lage, right? Logic lage. Usually what happens, and we have the school and college background with us. So usually what happens is that we study information in vertical formats. We study information in vertical format. Vertical format in the sense, for example, first we are studying, let's say, about the Mughals. Then we'll study about the Marathas. Then we'll study about the Britishers. Similarly in schools also, chapter 1, a topic, and then we dive deep. Chapter 2, a topic, we dive deep. Chapter 3, a topic, we dive deep. Exams, they were also conducted in this manner only, right? In boards exam also, this was there. How to clear UPSC? This thing will be done in all the classes also, right? All the books are also like that. Chapter 1, deep. Chapter 2, deep. Topic, deep. Topic, deep. What UPSC asks is, this. These horizontal bridges. UPSC will ask, in context of A, B led to C. Elaborate. That is, UPSC does, jitne bhi aap questions you look at of the mains of UPSC asks interconnection. So therefore, your job as a student is, why self-study is very important? Because in self-study, you make these bridges. Right? I'll try as much as possible that when I am doing chapter number 30, I also talk about chapter number 2. and we'll make it a link by bracket में star लगा के. We'll write down something in bracket में star लगा के. Right? So for example, when we are discussing Indian Councils Act of 1909, bracket में star लगा के, I might make you write down something regarding last Indian Councils Act of 1892. कि उसमें क्या था? So that we are able to develop a perspective that okay, horizontally this thing changed. Right? So therefore, UPSC always or mostly ask questions regarding the interconnection of chapters. And this is where the student struggles. They feel that if they had asked us a simple question of this topic, we had ratified our notes, we could have been able to answer. But now the UPSC has asked us to connect three things. And then how to deal with this. Right? That is the challenge. राइट तो ये चीज करना है. अब तो जैसे जो मैं आपको होमवर्क लिखा रहा हूं, दिस इज वन ऑफ द हॉरिजॉन्टल ब्रिज, दैट इज रीऑर्गेनाइजेशन डन बाय स्टूडेंट्स देमसेल्व्स. You think that okay, broadly what happened, a broad picture, what happened across the different rulers, है ना? So that is the logic behind it. So anyways, Bahadur Shah 0712. Next, write on Bahadur Shah 0712. After this, Jahandar Shah 1213. Jahandar Shah 1213. Jahandar Shah 1213. Then Farooq Siyar. Then Farooq Siyar 1319. You write down vertically. Farooq Siyar 1319. Then Muhammad Shah 1948. And his nickname was Rangila. Muhammad Shah Rangila. Right? After that, Ahmad Shah Bahadur, who was not at all Bahadur. Ahmad Shah Bahadur, who was at all Bahadur. 4854. That is 1748 to 1754. Even the jokes which are made, mostly, not all, but mostly, they have some link with studies also. I said what? Ahmad Shah Bahadur, who was not at all Bahadur. Why? Militarily, Mughals were so weak under him that in the year 1752, Mughals came under Maratha protection. Mughals came under Maratha protection. That means who was Bahadur? Who was militarily powerful? Marathas. And he is not at all Bahadur, not at all militarily powerful. That's why he has to come under the military protection of the Marathas. Right? So Ahmad Shah Bahadur, not at all Bahadur. This is how we can remember. Anyways. After that, Alamgir 2. 5459. Then Shah Alam 2. 6006. Since century is changing, so therefore 1760 to 1806. 1760 to 1806. Then irrelevant, Akbar 2, 0637. That is 1806 to 1837. And then Bahadur Shah Zafar. Bahadur Shah Zafar 3757. That is 1837 to 1857. 1837 to 1857. फिर कीड़े मकोड़े मार दिए. लाइन क्यों नहीं छोड़ी भाई तुमने बीच में? ये जो कंजूसी है ना, बड़ी मुश्किल से निकलती है. कोई नहीं, अब लिख लें तो. मैं तो इसलिए लिख रहा हूं ताकि मैं एक भी लिख पाऊं. सीखो कुछ उससे. देखो कितना कड़क लौंडा है. अच्छा यहां बुला लूं? है तेरे कान की बालियां में दिख जाएंगी सबको. हाँ हाँ, तो एक पेज छोड़ दो. फिर अगर स्पेस नहीं छोड़ा तो यू कैन लीव वन पेज, है ना? तो ऐसा मतलब ये एक्चुअली व्हेन यू विल डू दिस थिंग तो you'll feel that you have more grip on the subject, है ना? जब हम खुद से काम करते हैं तो हमें लगता है कि हमें आता है. राइट. एनीवेज, नेक्स्ट हेडिंग राइट ऑन मनसबदारी सिस्टम. Mansabdari system. So this is the topic. Mansabdari system. Mansabdari system. So why are we studying this topic? We are studying this topic because when we start proper discussion of decline of Mughals, multiple times we'll be using the word Mansabdar, 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 Mansabdar. So at least from the medieval we should know that by who was a Mansabdar and what is this Mansabdari system. Right? Mansabdar, it simply means an IAS officer. Right? So imagine that today if you clear UPSC, you will become a Mansabdar. Right? And if there is no democracy, today when there is democracy, as a result what happens? In our mind, things are divided. Division is that if we are a bureaucrat, that is a civil servant, then we will only remain a bureaucrat. And to become a mantri, that is to become a minister or to become a MLA, we need to fight elections. That is politics, this is bureaucracy. Such division is there. Why this division is there? Because today we have democracy. Imagine a system where there is no democracy, where there is a king, right? And he is the ruler, as simple as that. So what will happen? Today you are a SDM, tomorrow you are a district magistrate, tomorrow, day after tomorrow you will become chief minister. Why? Because there is no democracy. I am the king and I want people at different levels. I want people at the central level as my ministers who are helping me. Then I want people at the central level who will act as a bureaucrat also. Then the state level, I want chief ministers. इनको मैं कहूँगा governors, right? Governors, want governors. And below them, I want people who are in charge of districts and village level, so that I am the ruler and all of these people are nominated by me, picked up by me. Elections are not there. As a result, you see, a minister, a defense minister is also a Mansabdar, and a district magistrate is also a Mansabdar. There is no difference between a bureaucrat and a minister. Why? Elections are not there, democracy is not there, right? So as simple as that, I am the king and I want, and as per your, your status, I put you in charge of your status, your age, etc. I put you in charge of a district, right? Whereas you are very important for me. I put you at provincial level, right? You are the governor. And you are extra important to me. So therefore I make you wazir. All three of you are Mansabdars. All three of you are Mansabdar. That means ministers and bureaucrats both are Mansabdars. Right? This kind of scenario. So therefore, now, let us focus on the word Mansabdari. System, so we know that okay, we are going to talk about a system. Dari, तो चलो ऐसे ही होता है, ठीक है? जमींदार, दार तो किसी भी, you put dar in front of anyone. It's okay. So therefore, what is the important point here? Mansab. So therefore, we should not begin the topic without knowing the basic why. That, sir, what is Mansab? Mansab is a post. Mansab, it is a post, right? For example, the post of finance minister, it is a Mansab. The post of prime minister, it is a Mansab. The post of chief minister, it is a Mansab. The post of SP is a Mansab. The post of district magistrate is a Mansab. The post of SDM is a Mansab. These posts are there. Now, you can be a IAS officer, but you may not be a Mansabdar. Mansabdar is holder of Mansab. For example, imagine that you are in Labasna. So, are you an IAS officer? Yes. But are you holding any post? No, you are undergoing training. You are not assigned any work. You are in training, just for the sake of understanding. So you see, now, you might get posted to SDM. You might still be in the waiting. That means being IAS is one thing, and that IAS getting posted to some place, that is being given an office, is the other thing, right? So Mansab is office or post. Mansabdar is holder of that post. Mansabdar is holder of that post, right? So portfolio of finance ministry is a post. DM ship is a post, right? And you are called a Mansabdar because now you are a DM. Tomorrow, if you are not a DM and if you are not holding any other Mansab also, then you are basically dismissed from service, let's say, something like this, right? So this kind of scenario is there. So write down the first point. अच्छा, एक और चीज है. This was what this was also a, what you call as a military bureaucracy system. Military bureaucracy system. System, we know what is the system, fine. Military, we know what is military. Bureaucracy, we know bureaucracy, that is being an IAS officer. So when you say military bureaucracy system, so what does it mean? That if you are a Mansabdar, then you are a bureaucrat also, and you are a military man also, right? For example, Mr. Kadian will be writing that Major General Sahil Kadian, comma IAS. That means two functions are there. In times of war, he will act as a military general. In times of peace or otherwise also, he also has some charge, let's say IAS, comma DM. Right? So he has civilian function also and he has military function also. Today we have these things separate. To become part of military, you give exam of NDA. To become part of bureaucracy, you give exam of IAS, for example. So these two are separate. Right? So ऐसा नहीं है that if a war takes place, then the district magistrate will be fighting with machine guns. That is not the case. Right? Military is separate, bureaucracy is separate, but there it was the same. Right? So in times of war, you are the military general, otherwise you are a bureaucrat. That is, you have both functions, military wala bhi, ye wala bhi. Right? So write down, it was, and this spelling it is tough, but since you are going to be a bureaucrat, so therefore at least iska spelling yaad kar lo, bureaucracy. It was military bureaucracy system. It was military bureaucracy system. It was military bureaucracy system. It was military bureaucracy system of Mughals. It was military bureaucracy system of Mughals. Of Mughals. Established by. It was military bureaucracy system of Mughals established by Akbar 5605. Established by Akbar 5605. Established by Akbar 5605. That is officials. That is I dot E dot. That is officials had dual functions. That is officials had dual 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 functions. That is officials had dual functions. Dash military function. Dash military function. Officials had dual function. Dash military function and civilian function. Military function and civilian function. Military function and civilian function. Right? Next point. Mansab is equal to. Mansab numeric is equal to. ठीक है? Numeric is equal to. We'll write down proper वाले notes also, but हमारा focus है समझने पे. And this is a topic of medieval, right? So simple. Mansab is equal to. Mansab is equal to. लिखोगे क्या क्या हो गया? Post or office. Mansab is equal to post or office. Mansab is equal to post or office. And Mansabdar is equal to. And Mansabdar is equal to holder or occupant. Mansabdar is equal to holder or occupant. Holder or occupant of the Mansab. Mansabdar is equal to holder or occupant of the Mansab. Right? Next, write down two types, numeric 2, two types of Mansabdars. Two types of Mansabdars. Two types of Mansabdars on basis of mode of salary. On basis of mode of salary. Two types of Mansabdars on basis of mode of salary. On basis of mode of salary. क्या मतलब है इसका? फॉर एग्जाम्पल लेट से कादियान साहब आपका टेम्परामेंट ठीक है ना? कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, बस ठीक है. और लेट से उन्हें बुराई मान जाए, है ना? पता चले फिर बुला ले अपने हरियाणा से 3-4-5. ठीक है, मैं बताता हूँ तेरे को, पढ़ाई तो बाद में होगी. है? मैं भी हरियाणा से ही हूँ. तो फिर मेरे भी आएंगे. मेरा मिक्स है, मतलब grandmother was from Haryana and mother and grandmother was from Haryana and grandfather was from Delhi Haryana border type से. So anyway, so and I have no positive bias towards regionalism में मैं विश्वास नहीं रखता हूँ ऐसा. तो those who are not from Delhi or Haryana, they should not feel left out. ठीक है. My best friends have been from Bihar, Bengal, right? And Bihar, Bengal, UP, ठीक है. GZB downtown, Ghaziabad. ठीक है. So my roommate became IFS officer. He's from Ghaziabad, right? तो और क्या है? South Indians have been great friends, right? तो ऐसा कुछ हो bias नहीं है. तो आजकल पॉलिटिकली करेक्ट होना पड़ता है ना. वैसे एक्चुअली में बायस है नहीं, ठीक है, बट आजकल पॉलिटिकली करेक्ट होना पड़ता है. ठंड लग रही थी फिर. तो एनीवेज, तो क्या बात कर रहे थे हम? लिखवाया गया था लास्ट. अरे हरियाणा नहीं, उससे पहले. हाँ अब लेट्स से भाई हरियाणा, ठीक है. हाँ, देयर वाज अ रीजन आई पिक्ड हिम अप. Haryana, why? Because in Haryana, a lot of land is there, right? And people, they have some, at times, like it is a stereotype. Small landowners are also there, but it is a stereotype कि भाई, that land appreciation prices, etc. So let's say Mr. Kadian has two options, right? That his father, let's say, give him pocket money. That you are studying in Delhi and therefore pocket money. See, so therefore cash he is getting, right? Or transfer in bank account. These kind of mansabdars who got salary in bank account or those who got cash, basically coins, whatever, they were called Nakdi mansabdars. Nakdi mansabdars. That Nakad means cash, right? Nakdi mansabdars. But let's say Mr. Kadian's father has 5-6 flats, right, in Old Rajendra Nagar. Right? And Mr. Kadian's father says that, see, instead of me giving you your pocket money in cash, I am allocating a house in Old Rajendra Nagar to you, not for living, but you will take the rent from the tenant who is living in the house, and that will be your pocket money. And that will be your pocket money, right? These kind of mansabdar, that house is not house, it is land, right? And the rent, it is not rent, it is basically the taxes which are coming from that land. The taxes in the agriculture sector, they are called land revenue, like your income tax on salary, on income. Similarly, the income in the agriculture sector, the tax which is applied on the income from the agriculture sector, that is called land revenue, right? So therefore, basically, those who are allocated a piece of land and the tax from that land or the land revenue from that land becomes the income or the pocket money of that particular mansabdar. Such mansabdars are called Jagirdar mansabdars. Such mansabdars, because that land was called Jagir. So what is Jagir? It is a land, right? What is Jagirdar? The holder of that land. That is, the land revenue from that land will go to Jagirdar, right? And this Jagirdar is also a mansabdar, and that is why the name Jagirdar mansabdar or mansabdar Jagirdar. So therefore, those mansabdars who are paid salary, not in cash, but by allocating land revenue of a Jagir or by allocating a Jagir to them, they are called mansabdar Jagirdars, right? Obviously, now Mr. Kadian feels like a Raja. Now Mr. Kadian goes, knocks on the door, right? And he's like, "Padai padai kaise chal rahi hai? Any problem? Give rent on time, okay?" He's feeling like a king, right? He has a property, he's a master of that property. He's managing that property, right? He feels a sense of authority. Therefore, who will be the more powerful or who will be the more important mansabdar? Such mansabdars who are paid salary in the form of a Jagir, they will be the powerful mansabdars. And such mansabdars who are paid salary in nakad or cash, they will be lower level mansabdars. Why? Because when you are moving in this Jagir, then people are there in your feet. Ki, my baap aa gaye, my baap has come. Small peasants and others, they're like the person who basically takes ultimately, who is person who is responsible for anything, right? People will come, right? For example, people will come to Mr. Kadian that, sir, please get this room painted, right? Similarly, peasants, they will come to the Jagirdar that, sir, please some small canal if you can build for us, sir, please. You are the Jagirdar. Please invest some money in the Jagir, please, sir. Our life will improve, right? So therefore, you feel a sense of power, right? So therefore, Jagirdar Mansabdars, they are the Jagirs will be given to such Mansabdars who are more powerful, right? Who are more powerful, जिनका एक रुतबा है, right? Whereas Naqdi Mansabdars will be those who are relatively lesser powerful Mansabdars, right? So write down first sub point. Naqdi Mansabdars. Naqdi Mansabdars. Naqdi Mansabdars. तो हमने लिखा two types of Mansabdars on the basis of mode of salary. The first one is Naqdi Mansabdars dash were paid salary in cash. Were paid salary in cash. Were paid salary in cash. Second sub point. Jagirdar Mansabdar. Jagirdar Mansabdars dash. Jagirdar Mansabdars dash. Jagirdar Mansabdars dash. Paid in form of allocating. Paid in form of allocating. Allocating माने allocate कर देना, दे देना. Paid in form of allocating a Jagir. Paid in form of allocating a Jagir. Paid in form of allocating a Jagir. Full stop. The land revenue from Jagir. The land revenue from Jagir, in brackets land. The land revenue from Jagir. Jagir के brackets में land. Jagir is nothing, land, right? The land revenue from Jagir is equal to the land revenue of Jagir. ऐसा दो, the land revenue from Jagir went to Jagirdar. The land revenue from Jagir went to Jagirdar. The land revenue from Jagir went to Jagirdar. Went to Jagirdar. Next point, write down. Jagir is a land. Jagir is a land whose land revenue. Jagir is a land whose WHOSE, whose land revenue, in brackets LR. This land revenue will be used repeatedly, so therefore we'll refer to it as LR going forward. Right? Jagir is a land whose land revenue, that is LR, goes to Jagirdar. Goes to Jagirdar. वो तो लिखा ही कर हमने, बट इसको फ्रेश लिख लेते हैं. Goes to Jagirdar plus Jagirdar is equal to holder of Jagir plus Jagirdar is equal to holder of Jagir. तो बिल्कुल आपको तोड़ तोड़ के बिल्कुल बेसिक पॉइंट्स आई एम टेलिंग यू. जागीरदार इज इक्वल टू होल्डर ऑफ जागीर, राइट. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट राइट डाउन. जागीर्स वर ऑफ टू काइंड्स. जागीर्स वर ऑफ टू काइंड्स. जागीर्स वर ऑफ टू काइंड्स. फर्स्ट सब पॉइंट, तंखा जागीर्स. तंखा स्लैश ट्रांसफरेबल जागीर्स. तंखा स्लैश ट्रांसफरेबल जागीर्स. तंखा स्लैश ट्रांसफरेबल जागीर्स. हाँ जी. नहीं वो हम कहेंगे, विल कम टू. सो स्टूडेंट इज आस्किंग दैट वेदर एनी पोर्शन ऑफ द लैंड रेवेन्यू फ्रॉम द जागीर इज गिवन बाय द जागीरदार to the father. That is, whether Mr. Kadian, who is getting rent from a flat, whether that any part of that rent is given to father also. Right? Answer is no, but why will come to that later. Right? All the rent from the flat will come to you. It is your pocket money. Right? So therefore, that is what is there. Right? So tankha slash transferable jagirs. So therefore, you see from the name itself, tankha it means salary. Tankha, it means salary, right? So therefore, from the name itself, we are coming to know that it is a Tankha Jagir. That means you have been given this Jagir. Why? That is, you have been made a Jagirdar. Why? When I use the word Jagirdar, I do not come to know that whether you are a Mansabdar or not. मुझे क्या पता? I don't assume. When you assume, you make an S, A-double-S, of you and me. Never assume as you me. Hey, as माने गधा. ठीक है, donkey. Never make an ass of you and me, right? So whenever some person says Jagirdar, we should not assume that this Jagirdar is a Mansabdar. No, bhai. The word Jagirdar simply tells us what? You are a holder of Jagir, right? Whether you are a Mansabdar or not, that will depend that why you are holder of that Jagir. Why did the king give you that Jagir? If he gave you that Jagir because you are a Mansabdar and he wanted to pay salary to you, then you are a Mansabdar. So therefore, I will use full name, Jagirdar Mansabdar. Only then I will come to know that, okay, this person is a holder of Jagir and also a Mansabdar. That means there can be a person who is a Jagirdar but not a Mansabdar, and there can be a Mansabdar who is not a Jagirdar. For example, if Nagdi Mansabdar is there, he is not a Jagirdar, right? And Jagirdar who is not a Mansabdar, वो हम देखेंगे कैसे होता है. So basically, Tankha Jagirs are those Jagirs which are given for the purpose of salary. Why they are transferable? For example, today you are there on the post, right? Tomorrow, let's say you are not there on the post because king, he gives the he appoints the people to DM-ship, he appoints the people to different mansabs, right? So today you are my favorite, tomorrow you are not, so I remove you. So when I remove you from this particular post, I maybe allocate you some other post, right? If you are my favorite, maybe I'll promote you. If you are no more my favorite, maybe I'll demote you, right? And accordingly, I can give you a new Jagir, right? I can transfer your Jagir, right? So therefore, this kind of scenario it is there. That is Jagirs. These are transferable Jagirs. Another thing can be there. Bhai, my responsibility as king is that I should pay salary to my Mansabdars, right? Mera marzi na. Today I have allocated you this Jagir. Tomorrow I will allocate you another Jagir. But you have to get pocket money. So therefore your father has allocated that flat to you today. Tomorrow he says ki no, forget that flat now. Now another flat you have to take care of. Because role of the father is to give you pocket money. How that pocket money is given, that is the prerogative of the father. So therefore I can keep you in the same post, Mansab, but transfer your Jagirs. My wish, right? So therefore write down these Jagirs could be transferred. These Jagirs could be transferred from one Mansabdar to another. These Jagirs could be transferred from one Mansabdar to another. That is, could be taken away from a Mansabdar. That is, could be taken away from a Mansabdar. That is, could be taken away from a Mansabdar. That is, could be taken away from a Mansabdar. ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के लिखो किंग powerful. This is the king's power. Power is political power, economic power, social power, spiritual power, right? So it is the king's power, right? Taking away of mansabs and taking away of jagirs, that is how the king feels powerful, right? So therefore king is powerful. So more the percentage of tankha jagirs and less the percentage of second kind of jagirs, more powerful the king. What was the second kind of this? So write down वतन जागीर्स, W भी लिख सकते हैं, WATN, V भी लिख सकते हैं. वतन जागीर्स, जगत लिख रहा हूं, जागीर्स, वतन जागीर्स. Vatan Jagirs. In brackets लिखिए, dash in brackets. The word Vatan, it means hereditary, khandani. Vatan means hereditary, permanent, hereditary or permanent. That is something which cannot be taken away. Something which cannot be taken away. The meaning of the word Vatan, right, is hereditary. That means it belongs to your family, it will be there with you forever. Right? So therefore, if there is a Jagir, which is a hereditary Jagir, that means the king cannot take it away. That means these were the Jagirs which were given by the king to you permanently. Right? Why will king give any Jagir permanently to you? Because this will reduce the power of the king. Tomorrow the king cannot take away that Jagir. So he will give that. Maybe he was forced. Maybe you were Rajputs. And he felt that I can make you friendship, I can make you friends, or I can have a friendship with you only when I recognize the Rajputana or the Rajasthan as your Vatan Jagir. That is something which is yours permanently, which I will not take away forever, I promise. Or maybe you were my favorite. Maybe you were my favorite, and therefore I was very happy with you, and therefore I said that okay, some part of the land will be your Vatan Jagir. Some part of the land will be your Vatan Jagir. Right? So therefore, this much is your Tankha Jagir, this much is your Vatan Jagir. I can do this. Right? Tomorrow, let's say, next ruler comes and he hates you like anything. Right? And let's say he removes you as a Mansabdar. That is, I don't want to see your face, get out. You are no more my Mansabdar. This is possible. Right? So therefore, but you still have Vatan Jagir. That means now you are a Jagirdar, but not a Mansabdar. That's why never assume. Never assume that a Jagirdar will always be a Mansabdar. Yes, mostly he will be, but technically, theoretically, it is possible that there is a person who has lost favor with the king, and therefore maybe he is not having any Mansab, but he still has Jagirs. Right? So therefore, he is a Jagir. So therefore, दोनों words बहुत simple है. We should use both the words, Jagirdar, Mansabdar, right? And not assume that every Jagirdar will be a Mansabdar or every Mansabdar will be a Jagirdar. It is not. Technically, it is. It can be something else, right? So therefore, write down Jagirs that were given permanently. Jagirs that were given permanently. Jagirs that were given permanently by the king. Jagirs that were given permanently by the king. That is, king could not take away these Jagirs. That is, king could not take away these Jagirs. King could not take away these Jagirs. Right? Next, LR from Tankha Jagir. LR from Tankha Jagir. LR, land revenue. LR, money tax, right? LR from Tankha Jagir went to Jagirdar Mansabdar. LR from Tankha Jagir went to Jagirdar Mansabdar. LR from Tankha Jagir went to Jagirdar Mansabdar. Went to Jagirdar Mansabdar. LR के आगे all लगा लो. All LR. All ALL. All LR from Tankha Jagir went to Jagirdar Mansabdar. All LR from Tankha Jagir went to Jagirdar Mansabdar. Next point. 10% of LR. हाँ जी. आ रहे हैं उस पे. Who needs to pay the land revenue? No. Land. They are the consumers of land revenue. नहीं आ रहे ना मैं वही लिखवा रहा हूँ. 10% of LR from Vatan Jagir. 10% of LR from Vatan Jagir. You can use WATAN also for Vatan. 10% of LR from Vatan Jagir. From Vatan Jagir went to the king. 10% of LR from Watan Jagir went to the king as tribute slash peshkash, as tribute slash peshkash, as tribute slash peshkash, tribute slash peshkash. So why? ऐसा क्यों है भाई? So पहले लिख लेते हैं फिर समझाते हैं. As Hair King gave up the right, as Hair King gave up the right, as Hair the King gave up the right to take away the Jagir, as Hair the King gave up the right to take away Jagir, as Hair the King gave up the right to take away Jagir, therefore needs to be compensated, therefore needs to be compensated, therefore needs to be compensated, plus numerical plus का sign, plus tribute acted as Watan Jagirdar recognizing, tribute acted as Watan Jagirdar recognizing, tribute acted as Watan Jagirdar recognizing sovereign authority, sovereign authority, sovereign authority, sovereign mane bhai who is the ruler of the land. For example, today the sovereign authority of India is with President of India. He is the head of the state, right? Tribute acted as a symbol of Watan Jagirdar recognizing sovereign authority of the king, sovereign authority of the king, right? So what is the meaning of this statement? Since the king, see, king is the ruler of the whole land. Since the king is giving up his right to transfer that land or to transfer that Jagir from you to someone else, so therefore he is suffering some loss of power. He needs to be compensated. He needs to be compensated, and therefore 10% of the land revenue which is coming from the Jagir has to be submitted to the king as peshkash or tribute. Tribute mane some nazrana, right? Some nazrana, right? For example, in our weddings, what happens at times? The Fufaji is my father's sister's husband, right? So in North India this happens that the Fufaji gets angry, and as a result, it is a stereotype that Fufajis are getting angry. And one of the reasons why, because he can be angry, is that for example, he did not get enough tribute. So in our families, what happens when the two families meet? So therefore, one side of the family or both the sides of the family, they give some tribute, some peshkash, some nazrana, that is some token amount of money to the respective, some clothes might be given, some money might be given, right? So something being given to someone. So basically that is nazrana, that is a tribute, right? And what are basically the two families doing? Basically they are recognizing each other's authority, or they are trying to give respect to the other entity, or they are recognizing their status in the family. They are recognizing their status in the family, right? So therefore, money, it basically acts as a symbol of tribute, a symbol of recognition of authority. Kaise? For example, if I am the king and I have given this Jagir permanently to you, then what tells me that I am still the ruler of that particular area? Because land revenue is a very important thing. We are in an agrarian economy, right? So what tells me? The people, they will bow to you. You are the person who can tell the people that pay lower taxes or pay higher taxes. What tells the people, or what tells you that I am still the ruler of this land? Right? So therefore, you pay a tribute to me. You pay a peshkash to me. And therefore, that becomes symbol of you bending the knee in front of me. That becomes a symbol of you bending the knee in front of me, that I am your ruler. That is why you are giving me this money. Otherwise, what is the reason you are giving? Similarly, for example, let's say you do not have any rent agreement in the house that you are living, right? But you are paying monthly rent. online transactions you are doing, you are paying monthly rent. After an year, let's say, you lay a claim on that house that I am no more giving rent and I am neither going to vacate this house. Right? So therefore now a court case will be filed by the landlord. Right? Let's say he also does not have the papers. Right? Because in those times papers तो ठीक है. So what he will produce as proof that he has authority over that house, he'll give the RTGS transaction or NEFT transactions that you made every month, and you will ask the judge, the landlord will ask the judge that please tell me, Milad, that why this man was sending this particular amount of money every month to me. Why? Sir, this was rent. Ask him why he was sending this. So you see, payment of money, or today for example when you pay rent, in a way you are giving a tribute, or in a way you are giving a nazrana to the actual person who has authority over that house. You can think of the rent in this manner also. That rent symbolizes or is the live proof. Every month you are made to realize by your landlord that this is not your house. Every month he makes you realize कि किराए पे रह रहा है यहाँ पे. Right? So therefore you see, this is what it is. Right? So that is the meaning of the sentence that we wrote. Next point, write down. Criteria for becoming mansabdar is equal to. Criteria for becoming mansabdar is equal to. Criteria for becoming mansabdar is equal to. ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के नो एग्जाम. Criteria for becoming mansabdar is equal to ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के नो एग्जाम और नो यूपीएससी. फिर क्या है? lineage slash family background. Lineage slash family background. That is, from what family are you? So if your father was also a mansabdar, right, or your father helped me capture that particular state, right, or you come from a family of mansabdars, so chances will be high that you also will become the next mansabdar. Right? So therefore this, so your तुम किस खानदान से हो, क्या रसूख है तुम्हारा, from what is your family background, that matters. Right? That will increase the chances of you becoming the mansabdar. कोई exam नहीं है, there is no meritocracy. There is no exam. Next, every mansabdar had dual rank. Every mansabdar had dual, माने 2 ranks. Every mansabdar had dual rank. Every mansabdar had dual rank. Dash Zat in brackets personal rank. Zat in bracket personal rank and Sawar in brackets number of horsemen or army a mansabdar is required or was required to maintain for the king, was required to maintain for the king, number of horsemen or army a mansabdar was required to maintain for the king. Sawar. Example. Zat is equal to 2000. Sawar is equal to 1500. Net rank is equal to 3500. Example, Zat is equal to 2000 and Sawar is equal to 1500. Then net rank is equal to 3500. Right? So personal rank. For example, you have served for 15 years. You come from a great family also and you have served for 15 years. Right? So therefore you are a senior. Right? And he is Kalka Londa. He has just gotten recruited as a Mansabdar. He is very young. So therefore, he is also from similar family background. But you see, you have greater years of experience, right? So therefore, your personal rank, it is higher. Your personal rank, it is higher. And his personal rank will be lower, right? But the king has some problem with you. Maybe the king feels that you are plotting to overthrow the king and you want the younger brother of the king to become the next king, right? And therefore the king does not trust you enough. As a result, maybe your savar is reduced, right? Why? Because in the Mughal Mansabdari system, what used to happen is that the Mansabdars, they used to maintain army for the king. Mansabdars used to maintain army for the king, right? So savar, right? So your savar will be greater and maybe your savar it is lower. Why? Because the king no more trusts you. And you will maintain 1500 soldiers for me. That is 1500 horses and soldiers for me. Ghud savar, right? Because army was of horsemen, horses, right? So, or cavalry, right? So you will maintain 1500 soldiers for me, right? So during the peacetime when no war is taking place, each and every Mansabdar, because it was a dual function, that is civilian function plus military function, each Mansabdar was required to maintain army for the king as per his savar. Each Mansabdar will have a Zat and it will have a savar. Zat here does not mean caste, right? It's simply his personal rank, and savar is the amount of army he is required to maintain for the king, right? So therefore it is a dual ranking system and इसको add करेंगे तो मिलेगा. So if this is Zat and this is savar, so therefore such kind of a system will be there. Usually this will be the line, that is if bigger the Zat, that is personal rank, greater will be the savar. Usually more senior a Mansabdar, more responsibility will be with him for maintaining bigger army, right? Usually it will be like this. However, such scenarios can also be there, that there is a person whose Zat is lower but he is trusted more by the king. So let's say savar is also Zat is lower but savar is very high. So this will be a person who will be a favorite of the king, right? So this kind of scenario can be there. And a king, if he does not trust someone, so such kind of scenarios they can be there, that the savar is low but the personal rank it is high. This can technically such scenario it is possible, but usually it will be this is x-axis, this is y-axis, this point savar, let's say 1500, this point for savar, let's say just 200, right? Accordingly, so dual rank is there, right? उनका मिश्रण रहेगा, right? So that is there. हाँ जी. Yes, those people who had a stronger foothold in the society, and that foothold is decided by your family background. That is who was your father and who was your grandfather, right? So this kind of scenario. Yes. Is it possible that a Watan Jagir is taken away by the king? Possible is everything, right? For example, some foreign invader comes and he can do anything. Possible is everything. But in those times when proper law was not there, in those times when proper courts were not there, in those times the culture, the society, the traditions, they mattered a lot. That is customs, they mattered a lot. That this is our society functions, right? So social customs. So therefore, I mean, usually one would not expect, and it will be very social turmoil kind of a thing if a Watan Jagir is taken away by the next ruler, right? Next, write down emoluments. Emoluments. Salary, I am not using the word salary, but I am saying emoluments. Emoluments means the net money that you get. Emoluments of Mansabdar is equal to emoluments, in brackets you can write down rupee symbol. Emoluments of Mansabdar is equal to emoluments of Mansabdar is equal to, that is the money that he gets, his personal salary. Emoluments of Mansabdar is equal to his personal salary plus allowance, his personal salary plus allowance Allowance is also money. Allowance for maintenance. Allowance for maintenance. Allowance for maintenance of army. Allowance of maintenance of army as per his savar. Allowance of maintenance of army as per his savar. Allowance for maintenance of army as per his savar. Right? So these are the emoluments. Money, for example, Mr. Kadian was told that bhai, I am allocating that flat to you and the rent from that flat, it is your pocket money. Right? Now Mr. Kadian visits and he finds out that he has to get some painting done. He has to get the wash basin repaired. The AC is non-functional and therefore he has to get that AC also repaired. And his salary or his personal income was 15,000 rupees or his pocket money was 15,000 rupees and the rent was also 15,000 rupees. But now the expenditure for maintenance of that house, it is coming out to be 10,000 rupees. So therefore he calls up his father. He's like, bhai, 10,000 rupees, 15,000 rupees I got rent. Out of that 10,000 rupees I have utilized for maintenance of this painting, shinting, denting, painting. Right? So I need more money. My pocket money net has become now 5,000 rupees only. You have to pay me 10,000 rupees more. Right? So therefore what his father will do? His father will maybe, he will allocate him another flat. Right? Whose rent is 25,000 rupees. Right? So therefore from that 25,000 rupees, 15,000 is his pocket money and 10,000 is the money which he will need every month for maintenance of that house. Right? But he cannot use that 10,000 rupees for his personal use. Now let us make things official. That is coming here. Each Mansabdar is required to maintain an army. Right? But he also needs salary. Right? So therefore if he was not required to maintain an army, right, he would be given by the king, let's say Nagdi Mansabdar. If he is not required to maintain army and as per his personal rank, let's say his salary comes out to be 1 lakh rupees per annum, मतलब per month, ऐसा मान लेते हैं 1 lakh rupees per month, it is his salary as per his zat. So Mansabdar will be like, you give me 1 lakh rupees and I'm done with. But now you are telling me that I also have to maintain an army for you. Who will give that money? This is my personal salary. Right? So therefore I will maintain army for you, fine. But you have to give me another 1 lakh rupee or another, let's say 2 lakh rupees per month. And with this, as per my savar, I will maintain army for this. I'll recruit 2,000 people. I'll give them salaries. I'll buy horses, fodder of horses, weapons for the soldiers. All of these things, they will be compensated here. Right? So therefore you give me 3 lakh rupees per month. I am a Nagdi Mansabdar, let's say. With respect to a Jagirdar Mansabdar, such Jagir will be given to him. Such Jagir will be given to him, which gives him 3 lakh rupees per month. Out of these 3 lakh rupees, 1 lakh rupees is his personal. If he wants to buy a MacBook, right, iPad or MacBook, he can buy only from this. He cannot use money from this. This money, it is for maintenance of army. This is not your personal money. You are in charge of this money, but this is not your personal money. So let's say land revenue from a Jagir, it is coming out to be 3 lakh rupees. But his personal salary is only 1 lakh rupees. The rest of the 2 lakh rupees, तो उसको जागीर ही ऐसा दिया जाएगा. He will be given such a Jagir so that he is able to get his personal salary plus he is able to maintain army as per his savar. What will the corrupt Mansabdar do? Corrupt Mansabdar will not spend. Let's say he will say, if the king is not looking, if his supervisors are not moving around, then I am not going to maintain army as per my savar. And instead of 2,000, I am going to maintain 1,800, and the salary of the 2,000 will come to my pocket. A corrupt Mansabdar will not maintain army as per his savar. Right? So therefore, that is how corruption can be done. Second point, Mr. Kadian became greedy. And now 25,000 rupees rent is coming from that house. and he tells the tenant that from tomorrow 30,000. 30,000 is the rent, otherwise get out. Right? So therefore, now, if the supervision of father is strong, then the tenant will call his father. Ki, sir, what is happening? Right? And his father will take action against him. But if the Mughal emperor is weak, if his system of supervision is weak, then the tenant keeps on calling. Right? And the phone goes unanswered. The phone goes unanswered. Right? So you see, another thing that a corrupt Mansabdar or a greedy Mansabdar can do, who is also a Jagirdar, that he can oppress the peasants of that particular area and extract more than 3 lakh rupees. Let's say he extracts 4 lakh rupees, starts oppressing the farmer, starts oppressing the peasant, becomes very tyrannic. Right? So therefore this kind of scenario can also take place. Why? King will always want that my janta should be okay with me. Right? So therefore king would ensure that more than 3 lakh rupees it not extracted by the Jagirdar Mansabdar. See? But if the supervision is weak, if the king is not able to ensure this, then a greedy Mansabdar can extract more. Right? So therefore this kind of scenario. Right? Next item. More important nobles. More important nobles. More important nobles. Nobles mane Mansabdar, aristocracy, nobles, these are one and the same thing. Aristocrat, noble, Mansabdar, these are synonyms. Right? Khandani log, noble. Right? So that kind of scenario. More important nobles were made. More important nobles were made. More important nobles were made. Jagirdar Mansabdars. More important nobles were made. Jagirdar Mansabdars. And less important ones, and less important, were Nagdi Mansabdars. And less important were Nagdi Mansabdars. And less important were Nagdi Mansabdars. Next, Vatan Jagirs were given. Vatan Jagirs were given. Vatan Jagirs were given to those who were very important. Vatan Jagirs were given to those who were very important. To those who were very important or very powerful Mansabdars. To those who were very important or very powerful Mansabdars. Next, corrupt Mansabdars. Corrupt Mansabdars would not maintain army. Corrupt Mansabdars would not maintain army as per Sawar. Corrupt Mansabdars would not maintain army as per Sawars. Corrupt Mansabdars would not maintain army as per Sawar. Therefore will try to make personal. Therefore would try to make personal. Therefore would try to make personal. The money to be ideally spent, the money to be ideally spent, the money to be ideally spent on army, money to be ideally spent on army. Or over extract LR, or over extract LR from Jagir, or over extract LR from Jagir, over extract LR from Jagir. Next, Mughal emperor depended on Mansabdars. Mughal emperor depended on Mansabdars. बस हो गया खत्म, 8:05 हो गया, बस हो गया. Mughal emperor depended on Mansabdars for maintenance of army. For maintenance of army. For maintenance of army. For maintenance of army. Next, therefore in Mansabdari system, a give and take relationship existed. Therefore in Mansabdari system, a give and take relationship existed. Therefore in Mansabdari system, a give and take relationship existed between king and Mansabdar. A give and take relationship existed between king and Mansabdar. Full stop. The king gave Mansab and Jagir. The king gave Mansab and Jagir. The king gave Mansab and Jagir. And in return, Mansabdar gave his loyalty. King gave Mansab and Jagir, and in return Mansabdar gave his loyalty and maintained army for king. Therefore there existed personal loyalty. Personal, ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के, पर्सनल माने कि पर्सन बेस्ड, पर्सनैलिटी बेस्ड. Therefore there existed personality based or like man to man relationship. Therefore there existed personal loyalty. Meaning of the personal loyalty is कि भाई personality based or it is a man to man relationship. Therefore there existed personal loyalty to the king. नेक्स्ट सेंटेंस से समझ आ जाएगा मैं क्या कहना चाह रहा हूं. नहीं आया तो पूछ सकते हैं नेक्स्ट क्लास में. एनीवेज, एंड इफ टुमारो king does not give, and if tomorrow king does not give, and if tomorrow the king does not give the desired mansab and jagir, and if tomorrow the king does not give the desired mansab and jagir, if tomorrow the king does not give the desired mansab and jagir, then it may lead to disloyalty. Towards the king. तो समझ रहे हो, इट इज अ मैन टू मैन रिलेशनशिप. सर और कौन सी रिलेशनशिप होती है? हमने तो बस मैन टू मैन रिलेशन. For example, if you become today an IAS officer, the relationship it is between the Constitution of India, the laws, the rules, the code of conduct for civil servant, and to you. That is, it is you are a man or a human being, right? And on the other side, there is a non-living entity. That is a Constitution. That is called impersonal or non-personal loyalty, because your loyalty is not to a person, not to a prime minister or a chief minister, but to your Constitution. Right? Whereas here there is person to person thing. So you gave me, it is give and take. You gave me the mansab which I wanted. I wanted to be governor, you made me. Plus you gave me the desired jagir. In return, I am maintaining an army for you and I am loyal to you. If tomorrow you do not give me the desired, let's say the next emperor comes, or you yourself decide that you are going to demote me, give me a less important mansab, or give me a smaller jagir, then I'll be like, ये क्या मतलब है? I might start plotting against you. That you know, your younger brother, he also wants to be the king. I'll help him. I'll supply my army to him, and he will give me the desired mansab. So you see, my loyalty to the king is coming down if I am not getting the things which are. It is a give and take relationship. एक हाथ दे दूसरे हाथ ले. If you are giving the desired mansab and jagir, then fine. Otherwise, problem. So therefore, if there will be, that is why, that is a problem with monarchies and dictatorships. If the personality of the ruler is good, right, then he will be able to maintain this personal relationship with the mansabdars. If the personality of the ruler is weak, then he will not be able to maintain. For example, all of you are, last sentence, all of you are mansabdars. All of you want good mansabs. सबको DM बनना है. Everyone wants to be DM. Everyone wants to be chief secretary. And everyone wants good salaries. That is, everyone wants good mansabs and good jagirs. I am the king. If my personality is strong, I know how to tackle all of you. How to maintain a balance of power. संतुलन बना रहना चाहिए. I know how to maintain that balance. Right? What to give to you, what to tell you, what to do to him, I maintain. But if my personality is weak, if I am not a good politician, I will not know that what to give to what and how to balance all of these things. Right? And I might take wrong decisions, leading to disloyalty. So, for example, in the Sikh state, Maharaja Ranjit Singh, a great personality. Similarly, among the Mughals, Akbar is said to be a person who did maintain this balance of power well. Right? But post Aurangzeb, 5807, weaker Mughal rulers were there. And then this court politics will increase. Right? So anyways, we are laying the foundation. अभी तक हमारा syllabus begin नहीं हुआ है. So this was like the foundation class of the foundation batch. Right? ऐसा समझ लीजिए. And there are some questions related to that. Maybe in the next class you can give me. And the topic for the next class is going to be what you call as this thing. Land revenue system. Land revenue system. ठीक है ना? और एक मुझे बता दो लैंड रेवेन्यू सिस्टम या फिर आप ये टाइप कर दीजिए खलीसा लैंड एंड एलआर सिस्टम, है ना? तो एक सेंटेंस बस रह गया, वो नेक्स्ट क्लास में ही करेंगे. खलीसा लैंड एंड एलआर सिस्टम. सो थैंक यू फॉर टाइम. गॉड ब्लेस यू. टेक केयर. बाय बाय.